Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame to his game because he's always the same.
That's me.
Grumpy, how are you today? A different show day and a different show time than what the listeners may be accustomed to if you're listening to it live.
Very true.
Yes.
Different location as well.
Different location. That's correct. Grumpy is in town. We've got Grumpy in town here visiting. Son X just left. He flew back to Charlotte. So he just had left he left earlier today. And we still have Grumpy here for the rest of this week upcoming here. Grumpy and the Warden are in town. So that is the reason for our different day for our live stream here of the podcast. And it's also the reason for, a different time. We wanted to make sure we got to spend some time there with X and everybody before they had left yesterday, or I guess before they'd left today. So we had no show on Saturday that we usually have. For those of you who are accustomed or are familiar with the show, this is a once a week All Islanders podcast. It takes place every single Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, we're going live on Easter. Happy Easter for everybody who celebrates. We're going live on Easter Sunday at, I don't even know what this is. This is 3 p.m., probably Eastern Standard Time. So, but yes, if you're new to the channel and you like the content that we produce, if you like the show, if you find it funny, if you like it, if you find it interesting, if you find it good to listen to, you enjoy it, make sure to do a few things here for us. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, right? So you don't miss out on any of our future episodes, any of our future podcasts, and make sure to like the video. If you like the video, that apparently helps the algorithm and gets this podcast out to the masses. It helps get this podcast out to all of the Lamanites. And also, right, if you like the video, it lets us know you like the content that we put out. So make sure to do those few things. We're 7 subscribers away from 1,000 there on Instagram or YouTube. Ugh. I'll go through all the social media groups, but yes, make sure to subscribe if you like content. And one more item that's worth mentioning, we also do have a secondary podcast called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. You could find it in the link in the description below, where it says check out our other podcast. And again, that is an all sports podcast that happens on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you could find that again in the link in the description below, or as a featured page here on a YouTube channel. TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. We talk anything and everything sports on that show. Make sure to give that a check out.
That's right.
There it is. I'll say Islanders this week, Grumpy. How would you classify their play? Right?
What a clumsy segue by you. Can I just say that?
What do you mean a clumsy segue?
Just kind of sputtered into it. When last we spoke, actually, I don't know if it was last time. There was an 8-game stretch where I felt the Islanders had to get a minimum of 8 points to make the playoffs. It started with the Rangers, then Carolina, Detroit, Winnipeg, Jersey, Florida, Tampa, and Philadelphia. We are 1 game away from the 8, and so far the Islanders have 4 points. They beat a sputtering Winnipeg team 6-3, and a game they deserve to win. And then they beat Florida 3-2. Which the game they absolutely did not deserve to win. And the officials pretty much gave the Islanders that game. Lost again, got dominated by Tampa last night. Philadelphia, who's falling apart, lost to Chicago yesterday. That tomorrow's the biggest game of the Islanders season. I realize I've said this 100 times before. If you lose to Philly, you're done. It's over. Have to beat Philadelphia tomorrow. I mean, I just looking at the standings, right? Philly's got a 5-point lead. We have 2 games in hand. I'd much rather have the points, as I've said 100 times before. But if you lose to Philly, particularly in regulation, you cannot go down 7 points, in essence, with 8 games to play. You're just not going to overcome that. Washington is still in the hunt, if you can imagine that.
Yeah. You know who said Washington is a team that shouldn't be slept on? Do you remember which member of this podcast said, when are you going to finally start giving maybe Washington, the credit that they deserve? Do you remember who said that, Grumpy?
Well, ever since I find you being a shameless self-promoter that you are, as soon as you mentioned, "Hey, who predicted this?" Everyone knows that it was you, right? Let's be honest. So that's kind of what we feel with TJ on that. I think they still have a tough schedule, but again, so many points behind these other teams, and you're just running out of time. The Islanders have been scuffling down the stretch, right? I mean, let's just call it for what it is. In our last 10 games, we're 2-8. I mean,
Yeah, 2-7-1.
okay, but it's 8 losses.
Yes.
And
Look at this. All of these other teams are trying to do anything they can to help the Islanders out, to gift them an opportunity on a silver platter as to all you have to do is want it. All you have to do is want to take it. Well, the Flyers, 4 losses in a row. Well, it doesn't matter. We weren't able to make up much ground on them because, right, even though they were 3-5-2 over the last 10 games, we're 2-7-1. And the Capitals, right, they've lost 2 games in a row, 6-3-1 though. It's just like, right, that's the reason why they've leapfrogged themselves into the last spot, technically in the Metro. The Flyers are now sitting in a wild card position here, that last wild card position. And you had, right, the Red Wings. They've lost 4 games in a row. They're 3-5-2. But what do you notice? Despite 4 losses in a row and having a 3-5-2 record, the Islanders in the last 10 games are 2-7-1. It's just not good enough.
you know, the Islanders have the 6th worst goal differential in the league.
What was that? I'm sorry?
The Islanders have the 6th worst goal differential in the league.
Wow.
I mean, just think about that. I'm a big one on goal differential, right? It tells you if you're playing well. The only teams with worse GD is the Sharks -131, Blackhawks
Hold on. Hold real
-95.
quickly. The Sharks are -131.
Yes.
Yikes. Yeah, you look at them, -131. The Ducks, -89.
Blackhawks -95. Columbus -59. Canadians -49. And then the Islanders -29.
Well, the Capitals are -31.
Oh, okay. That must have been. Did they lose last night?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
We're the 7th worst goal differential in the
does
NHL.
it matter?
Still doesn't
Does it matter? I mean, they say if a tree falls in the woods and you don't hear it, did it really happen? Well, if the Islanders make the playoffs, does it really matter? Because you're going to get blown out by whoever you play, with the exception of maybe Boston. But as it looks right now, they'd have to play the Rangers in the first round. I mean,
Yeah, again, the Rangers, right? How do you remember? It's funny. I want to go take the clock back here for a second. Do you remember 2 years ago, or was it 3 years ago? We were asked the question by a guest on our show, who would you rather be, the Islanders or the Rangers? We both unanimously said, rather be the Rangers at this point going forward for their team. I think it was off of 2 back-to-back Eastern Conference finals. So maybe this was 2 years ago, before the Barry Trotz' last season, and before Lane Lambert took over at the helm for the 2 years, and then, or for the year and a half, and then Patrick Waugh. But the Rangers are one of those teams where I'm not a fan of the Rangers. We're Islander fans. I don't detest and hate the Rangers like some people do in the fan base. But the Rangers are another one of those where it's like, okay, Lafreniere having the best year of his career, 52 points at 22 years old. Right? Tell me Islander fans wouldn't be salivating if Simon Holmstrom had 52 points and at 22 years old that he currently is at. You know what I mean? Like it's you look at it like Lafreniere received a lot of hate for a long time. Oh, anybody could put up this amount of points with Panarin. I'm not sure necessarily that's the truth. And if we had a guy who was 22 years old putting up 50 plus points, I'd be happy with that. It's the reason why I'm happy with a guy like Noah Dobson coming on and really exploding onto the scene this year.
Simon Holmes was playing on the first line for the Islanders to start the year.
Yeah.
And he shit the bed, and that's that. Hey, it is what it is.
Anyway, we don't want to necessarily hammer home those type of items, but the Rangers are playing extremely well as of recent, right? And the thing is, what is the thing we talked about that would not be a good scenario for the Islanders down the stretch? We still play the Rangers twice more. Is if the Rangers have something to play for and they're not going to be starting to rest players. That would be the worst case for us. Best
Yep.
case scenario is we get a whole bunch of teams or, down the stretch that are talented teams that are saying, hey, we're cementing in at the one spot. We're cementing it. We're cementing into our spot. There's no need for us to worry about jockeying maybe for a few extra points to put a little feather in our cap, right? If they're fighting still for the best spot in the Metro or the best spot in the Eastern Conference, and they're saying, hey, we want to make sure that we've got home ice advantage through through the finals and through potentially a Stanley Cup run. That means something. That's important to a team. So I wonder if we're going to get a roster full of guys getting rested, or if we're going to get a roster of the Rangers are trying to beat us.
Well, all I got to say is, Tampa Bay really didn't have anything to play, and they're pretty much locked in as the number one wild card spot. That didn't stop them from absolutely kicking our butts right off the planet yesterday with our new starting goaltender, Semyon Varlamov.
Oh, goodness. Oh, trust me, we're going to jump into that too. But, I want to kind of talk about the games, what we've seen as of recent. Now, the Florida game, we didn't play a lot of games. We had quite a few. We had a good bit of rest, from that Sunday loss where we were shut out by the Devils. We didn't play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and our first game back was Thursday. So 3 days of rest for the Islanders. They played the Panthers, who were playing, I think they played Tuesday. Long story short, I thought that game was one to where very fortunate to win 3-2. The Islanders were, right. Again, officials sometimes go your way, sometimes they don't go your way. I think that was definitely one of those games. We don't talk about when the officials don't or do go our way, because I think it's
Okay.
all part of human error, right? There's always going to be a human error. What, Grump?
Yeah, all right. I know what you're going to say, but that was one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen. That was a game gifted to the Islanders. The game-winning goal was on a Cizikas trip. They just tripped a guy and wound up taking the puck away and goes into the net. I don't know how the officials missed it, honestly. I listened to the Florida announcers, and I've heard them before. They're usually not complainers, but that's a game that we were just thoroughly outplayed in. Again, playing a backup goalie who just isn't good enough. And that's who's their goalie? Who is their backup?
Stolzar.
Stolarz. He was terrible. Another guy who fattens up his stats against the worst teams in the league. And, they're like, well, we're not going to play a starter here. Now, here we're seeing this. Here's the play that directly led to the goal.
Here's the puck, right? He's going for the puck.
Whoops.
Uh-oh.
What is that?
Uh-oh. Well, I don't think we made. Well, look, the puck did a magic trick, Grumpy. It stood right in place, even though Cizikas didn't make look, it just stood right in place.
It doesn't matter even if he touches the puck. He can't trip the guy. And here he goes. Down he goes. Geez, he jackknifes him, right? Okay, that's a penalty. That's a penalty. And here it is. Here's your goaltender, Stolarz.
Really quickly, this is what they were reviewing. It was the potential goaltender interference by Cizikas hitting Stolarz, right?
Which he did also, and he's still in the crease. There was your bailout. They had the bailout option, but I don't know what Stolarz is doing. Terrible. And there's your game winner. That's your game winner. That's a game we were thoroughly dominated in.
Yeah.
Just thoroughly dominated in that game.
Period. What were we outshot? What were
I don't remember. But it was the whole game was one-way traffic the whole game. Matter of fact, there was another time where the Islanders did have a penalty called on them. They didn't even gain control of the puck, and they just blew the whistle because a thing bounced off of, I think, Martin's stick. And I think that Florida had like a minute of sustained offensive zone time with the goaltender pulled. And it's like, they didn't even gain possession. How many times all year we see, I'm like, okay, he touched the puck and they didn't blow the whistle. This one, the puck just kind of bounced off a guy's stick right to Florida. I don't understand. The officiating was just horrible in that game. Just horrible. As an Islanders fan, make sure you send those Christmas cards to whoever the official was in that game. It was horribly called.
And the thing is, right, though, you're not going to catch, right? I'm not a complainer to or from, in the form of penalties. Because sometimes it goes your way and sometimes it doesn't. Seriously, it does. But
I just want to mention this because I don't want to ever hear from Islander fans that the Islanders don't get calls. They get calls all the time. If you watch The Islanders are always grabbing sticks, always interfering, always hooking all the time, and they don't call it. You want to know why? Because you can't keep them in a penalty box all day. Certain teams get away with that.
Well, my point being is this, right? Games like that, I think probably the calls definitely went in our favor, right? We had 6 power play opportunities to Florida's 1. And I think the penalty they called against Florida or against the Islanders against the slash for Bo Horvat absolutely was not a slash of the stick, but they missed a whole bunch of they missed a lot, right? There's no doubt about that. The reason we're bringing it up is this is just your friendly reminder, your friendly, PSA that hey, if you ever feel like, oh man, the Islanders never get the calls, the Islanders never do this, we got screwed over by the officials. Um, this is human, and it's the reason why sometimes we'll win games just like we won against Florida, where we had 6 power play opportunities to 1. And when we were outplayed by Florida, right? Think about it. Florida spent 12 minutes shorthanded that game.
It's a lot.
You're talking. So, the big takeaway is you're going to win some of those, you're going to lose some. Sometimes you get the calls, sometimes you don't. We got the calls that day. There are going to be times where we don't get the calls. I just don't want to hear the bitching and moaning and complaining. And you're not going to hear us say, "Oh my gosh, they screwed over Florida. That Florida needs to file a petition with Toronto." I just think they missed a few calls. Simple as that. That was a game where I was really expecting us to come out looking like a dog on a bone, right? This portion of the season is do or die. And we had Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday off. We should have been playing like we were full of energy, like we were a team that, oh my gosh, as soon as we got out there on the ice, we were just dominant. That's how we should have looked. 3 days of rest. That's the type of energy and the enthusiasm I wanted to see from our team. We unfortunately didn't, but we got the win. Now against Tampa, right? We got the early goal against Tampa. We went up 1-0.
Another game thoroughly outplayed.
We were outshot in the first period, something like 20 something to 6 or 7. I mean, we were outshot 2 or 3 to 1 in the first period. And I'm just like, yikes. And now I think we wound up being down at the end of the first period. I can't remember if they scored 2 goals at the end of the first or however it transpired. I don't know. Again, I'd like to see a little bit more from our team. Kyle Palmieri
Okay.
seems to be the only guy who's hot and remains to be hot, as the season is pretty much over, right? I'd say that the likelihood of us making the postseason is less than the likelihood of us making the postseason at this point, just because of the teams, the points ahead they are in our remaining schedule.
If the Islanders had played in the Western Conference, the season's already over.
Yes.
They're 10 points behind the they're
Last
10 points behind the last playoff spot team with 9 games to go. That's just not happening. I mean, the only thing keeping us in the hunt is the fact that we're just stuck in the suck zone with 3 other teams.
Yeah.
If any team would grab the rest of the schedule by the scruff of the neck, they make the playoffs.
That's what pisses me off about this situation, right? The people who are, hey, it's only we just started the wrong guy, or we just didn't have the right goalie in, or we didn't have the right coach, or it was just this little tiny bit to the left or the right is the reason why we're not much better. Here's the thing. We've had the brand new coach for the last almost 30 games, and down the stretch, every single team in the suck zone except Washington, the Flyers have played like garbage. The Red Wings have tried to say, Merry Christmas, we're trying to give away our playoff spot. And essentially they might have, right? And the Islanders, in the same token, have done the exact same thing. And that's the thing that's frustrating for me as a fan, right? If you want the team to do well and you see them just come out and just kind of have like, meh, we can kind of show up some games we don't. We show up against Winnipeg, who of course was sputtering, but then where is that effort level? Where is that commitment that we saw against Winnipeg? I don't know. The next game against the Devils. Oh, wait a second. We were playing the second half of a back-to-back and got absolutely rolled. You know what I mean? Got shut out by the Devils. It's just like, Christ, man. This is a veteran group. We shouldn't have to worry and be concerned about effort level from a veteran group. And if you are, it means that there's a culture problem, as we've discussed ad nauseum on the show.
Yep. What other buttons can Patrick Waugh push? He's right now, he's where Lane Lambert was. All he does is, okay, well, look at the lines are drastically different. Well, how did that work out? We were dominated. like I said, where does this team go until they come to the realization that it's time to move on? And it seems like the stupid old general manager just refuses to understand that concept. As long as it stays like that, just get ready for more of these bad years where you're scuffling around the 9, 10, 11 spot in the playoffs. Other teams try to get better. The Islanders don't under Lou Lamoriello. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. And I just to listen to the Lamanites talk, oh, hey, we beat Florida. We're right there. Okay, you've lost 8 out of 10 games. If you win one game, you're in the playoff hunt. We're still 5 points behind the next plus team who's in the playoff. 5 points behind. Cannot be 5 points behind. I'd rather have the points in the bank. You want to know why? Because we're the only thing consistent about us is how inconsistent we are. I've said 100 times before, but it's nonetheless true. It's just true. Whichever team gets on a run is going to make playoffs. Whichever team doesn't, won't. It's just that plain simple. But you know what? It doesn't matter anyway. If you have to play the Rangers or Carolina in the first round, guess what? You're losing. You're losing to those teams. Florida. You're losing to Florida. And that's any one of these teams that I'm talking about. Detroit, Washington, Philadelphia, the Islanders. They're all the EU, every single one of them is going to get rolled in the first round. It doesn't matter. What do you want to say? Hey, we had 2 games where we got, playoff crowds. Is that it? Is that it? Is that all you're shooting for as an Islander fan? Shouldn't be. But I think for a lot of the Lamanites, that's what it is. Oh, we're just happy we made the playoffs. Islanders are going to suck for a long time. Pittsburgh is only 2 points behind us. Pittsburgh, 2 points behind us. Think about that. And they've given up. 2 points behind us. Same amount of games played. Let me double check that. I want to make sure I'm right on that. Yes, 2 points behind, same amount of games. Devils, 1 point behind. We have a game in hand on the Devils. I mean, does anyone think that the Devils and Pittsburgh are legitimate playoff contenders or Stanley Cup contenders? No. I mean, just think about that. Think about that for a second. You're stuck in that group of suck. And Islander fans are just delusionally thinking, well, we're contenders. No, you're not. Then I just say, well, my question is Washington a contender for a cup? Is Detroit? Is Philadelphia? Is Pittsburgh? Is Jersey? Are they all contenders? Because everyone's going to say, no, they're not. And I say, what's different with the Islanders?
And guess what? They're not wrong when they say, no, they're not. But you can't give me a different reason besides, oh, well, and I love just the boatload of excuses. The Lamanites are out there now. The big thing is, hey, if we would have started Varley this year and Varley was our starting goalie, we'd be in a playoff spot. We'd be 4 to 6 points better if Varley was playing in that. And you know what? It led me down a path to do a little bit of investigative, I wouldn't call it reporting, but a little bit of number crunching, grumpy old man, because that's the funny thing when you talk about Varley and his great play this year. Because I said, what does Varlamov's schedule actually look like this year? I'm curious, right? If we'd be much better with Varlamov, what type of opponents has Varley played? Usually the backup, right? They play the more cushier schedule. They play more of the teams that are, I'd say cellar dwellers, non-playoff caliber teams. Would you agree, Grump?
Yep. That's the way it is.
Here's the thing that I'll have to point out to you, right? We look at the save percentage, 912 save percentage. It's not far off of where Sorokin's save percentage is. Goals against average of a 283. Guess what? All of our goals against averages are bad for the Islanders. He has played 23 games this year. And I was just like, how many teams did he play against that were in a playoff spot currently? Well, don't worry, Grumpy. I've got it for you here. And, it's funny how quickly these can be manipulated or these can be completely turned upside down depending on what happens in the last few weeks of the season. But how many teams do you think, grumpy old man, that Varlamov played against that were in the playoff spot? How many do you think?
3.
Out of the 20, he's played 23 teams.
3. I'll say 3.
He's played more than 3 playoff caliber teams. Just think about it alone, right? They just played Tampa and Florida. He started both of those games. That's 2 playoff caliber teams. In all seriousness, how many do you think he played?
6, maybe 6.
Well, here's the thing. When you look at the teams they played in the playoffs currently, Washington,
No, yeah,
Carolina, Washington, Colorado, Florida, Winnipeg, Florida, and Tampa. So, right, if Washington
What were the
doesn't
records? Can you tell me what the records were against those teams?
yeah, give me a sec. I'll pull it up for Varley.
Because I find that interesting too, because if you're getting shit canned against all those teams, what does it matter? I know they beat Florida once, absolutely lost to Tampa. I'm I don't know what the record is. 3 times against Washington. What are they, 1 and 2 against Washington when he was in there? Winnipeg. Okay, maybe he was in net when they beat Winnipeg that time. I don't know. Colorado, that was I'm sure that was a loss. Carolina might have been early in the season. Here's the thing, you ain't beating Carolina again. You just forget that. That's over. Beating Carolina when, they were doing the musical chairs at goalie position early in the year, that's over.
Well, it's before
Carolina,
Pyotr Kochetkov started to play well too, right? So, like, I will say that, right? I don't, right? You're going to go through different portions of the season, right? That's why I think recent form is important. But yeah, I'll crunch numbers, Grumpy, and let you know what his record was against those teams.
yeah, but let's say 23 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So
Nine.
you played 14 against non-playoff teams. And he was
If Washington doesn't make the playoffs, it's only 6 games you played, right? If you notice, Washington's on the list 3 times.
yeah. He always plays well usually against Washington.
Well, it's an old club. It makes sense to do that, right? That's my thing. It makes sense for him to be playing against Washington because it's get up, play Washington.
Yeah, I just like I said, when I see people we playing the wrong goalie, really, something? If Varley was our starter this year, we are Columbus. People forget how bad we were defensively, particularly early in the season, giving up, 40 shots a game.
So the record against those 9 teams, right? We played Washington 3 times, is 4 wins, 2 losses in regulation, and 3 overtime/shootout losses.
So 4 and 5. And
Yeah.
what's his record for the whole year? I'm just interested because, if he's that great, he should be having probably 70% winning percentage, right? He should be undefeated against bad teams.
Well, here's the thing though. 9, 8, and 4. 9, 8, and 6.
So there you go. 9 and 14. Okay. What's the difference? It doesn't matter who the goaltender is, honestly. The team's been bad defensively all year. If you want to go into the playoffs and you think Varlamov is your best chance to win, you're delusional. I will say one thing though. Since Patrick Waugh came, Ilya Sorokin's game has tailed off. It has.
My
Absolutely
apologies.
has.
9, 8, and 4 is his record. And I assume because he was taken out possibly when games were tied or he was put in once we were already losing, if Sorokin was pulled, his record this year is 9, 8, and 4. Still a losing record, right? But I mean, if people want to give overtime, losses, hey, they don't count, then sure, he could be slightly above average. But yes, I will agree. Ever since Patrick Waugh has come in, Sorokin, I think, has been playing worse, if that's possible to believe. I don't think this year we talked about this. We talked about this early in the season, right? Don't be shocked if you see Sorokin have worse numbers than he's done in the years past. We've talked about this because if you're a goalie who's consistently putting up a 920 plus save percentage every single year of your NHL career, you're a Hall of Fame goalie. It's that simple. You don't have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years in a row of a 920 plus save percentage and not make the Hall of Fame. That simple. And he's done it. He's done it year in and year out. It's natural to expect some years where you play better than others as a goalie. That's just how it works. Same thing with Shesterkin. Guess what? Vasilevsky. His goals saved above expected is bad this year. Oh, well, Vasilevsky gets a pass. It's just like, man, oh, man. It's like listening to these people use that little data point that has actually no basis in the discussion is just hard to fathom. Just like, why? Why is that important? Guess what? Anders Lee has the most expected goals on the entire team this year. You want to know why? It's because he has the puck and handles it 5 inches away from the net. Doesn't mean he's going to score, but it's the fact that he's touching the puck 5 inches from the net and 5 inches from the goal mouth doesn't mean that he should get extra credit points because, hey, he's possessing the puck down low.
Again, expected goals. You know what that is? It's idiocy. It's dumb. I'm sorry. It's you know what? Just tell me what actually happens. Don't try to guess. It sounds like a nerd stat. It sounds like somebody, Peter Poindexter, wearing his little, getting his slide rule, wearing his little pocket protector, with little pencils and pens in there. He just makes shit up. You know what? Because he's not talented enough to actually do anything. So they try to recreate the wheel. That's what it sounds like to me. Anybody who's using that type of ridiculousness as an argument in any, just stop. You're living in fantasy land. I live in reality.
At this point, I kind of hope they play Varlamov the rest of the season. I really do. I really do. Right? Let Varlamov play against the Rain. Let Varlamov play against the Rangers. Let Varlamov play against the really tough teams and the opponents. Let's see how he holds up.
I mean,
let Varlamov play Philly.
Honestly,
don't play Sorokin the rest of the season just to go ahead and show people, no, it's not a goalie issue. It's a defensive issue, and it's our penalty kill being god awful.
Worst in the league. Worst in the league by a long shot.
Yes.
Yeah, I like I said, okay. I do think, though, it's safe to say that Sorokin has hit a wall or whatever.
I agree.
I don't think he's been playing since Wah got there. I don't think he's playing as well.
I agree with that too.
And I'm going to blame Wah on that.
Do you think maybe it has to do with our head coach coming out there and really, I mean, Patrick Wall, one of the best goalies in the history of the sport, coming out and saying, "Oh yeah, we want more from our goalie. I think he knows that too. We want more and we expect more out of him." Blah blah blah. I don't know. Maybe again, goalies are like kickers. They're fickle creatures. You don't go ahead and start shitting on your goalie, just like you don't shit on your kicker if he misses 2 field goals in a game, because the next time he goes out there, he misses 3 kicks and then he's cut. So you don't go ahead and shit on the goalie. You don't shit on the kicker. Those are the guys you don't do that to. You could do that to players. You could do that to skaters. You usually don't do that to the guy who's blocking the shots.
They're temperamental. They're absolutely a temperamental group. And I think that, I'm not saying that I don't know. I don't know what's going on in the room. No idea. But I think his play has absolutely seemed to have gone south a little bit. Is it because of the amount of games he played early, the amount of shots on goal? Possible. I mean, he saved us early in the year. I can't even imagine what our record would be if he had not played early in the year, where they were getting, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 high danger chances every single night right in front of the goal because our defense was so bad. I mean, who knows what it would have been? Varlamov would have got lit up and we wouldn't even have in this conversation. Again, I just find it interesting that everyone wants this is the reason. Stop making excuses, right? They're like buttholes. Everybody's got one. Here's the only excuse the Islanders have. They ain't good enough. That's the biggest excuse. They're just not as good as other teams, period. That's the only excuse you can use. We're not as good as the other teams in the league.
I was curious as to when the team, right? It's easy to blame one player. It's easy to blame, the issue is our goalie, because he's the reason, right? He controls where the pucks go in and out. He's the reason our team struggles. It's easy to point the finger at one player rather than pointing the finger at the systematic issue. I think that's why people do it, because instead of admitting, hey, we have problems with our first line left wing. We've got problems where we only have really 3 top 6 forwards, if you want to count it that are legitimate top 6 forwards. And, gotcha. Our third line is meh at best. Our fourth line is ancient, decrepit. And our two of our top 4 defensemen have really tailed off with their career. It's easier to say, it's because our goalie had an off year, our goalie didn't play well, than pointing out the actual systematic issues. And that has to do with the roster composition. It's easy to point the finger at one person to say, hold on a second, there's a few issues that I'm noticing that may actually have a bigger impact than what people are giving it credit for.
The problem with the Islanders is the guys who's in the general manager's seat. That's the problem with the Islanders. No financial flexibility, no draft picks, nobody in the minors, and you keep doubling down on suck. Well, all you get is more suck, and that's where the Islanders are at. I mean, that's just the way it is. Until there's movement out of with the upper management, meaning Lou Lamoriello, until he's gone, this is what you're going to get. And I hope you're happy. If you're an Islander fan who's just happy scuffling around, losing 50 games a year, if you count wins and overtime losses as losses, if you're happy with that, More power to you. I'm not. I'm not. And I guess that's just where I'm at. I want this team to be good so bad that it drives me crazy when I just see us stagnating in mediocrity village. I mean, that's just what it is. I cannot, I can't even express that. I don't see a way out because I don't think he's creative enough. Meaning Lamarillo, I don't think he's creative enough to make a move. I'd rather have somebody come in and say, you know what? All right, we're going to move some guys. Maybe we won't be as good as we thought. Maybe we're going to make some mistakes, but at least we're willing to change up the country club atmosphere. That just has to happen. Just has to happen.
And for those of you who are just joining, no, we just didn't have a show yesterday, and because X was in town, and so was Grumpy. But we wanted to make sure we were able to get a podcast released, especially for this portion of the season, right? We're at the last 10 game stretch. We want to make sure that we can provide you guys listening content, that's, I feel, true, honest, and realistic. So you don't have to just say, oh, gotcha, we're being extremely optimistic these days, right? So when you see comments like this, 13% chance. So you're telling me there's still a chance. Sign me up. Isles. Like when you have the fan base who takes that mentality of, hey, our chance to make the postseason is 13% chance. Hey, there's still a chance. Sign me up.
The only reason there's a chance is because the other teams are just as bad as the Islanders. Philadelphia all year. When can we consider Philadelphia a contender? I'm like, I got to see something. They're not a contender. Might they squeak? Here's the thing. I think they got a better coach than we have. That much I'll say. Their coach is better than ours. Tortorella's a really good coach.
Yes, I agree.
If he was coach here, I don't know how many of these players would be playing on this team.
Oh,
I really don't.
Lee would have been gone a while ago.
I mean, here's the thing. Tortorella has no problem benching players. Sean Couturier, you're not producing. I know you're the captain. Ride the pine, brother. Because guess what? You're not doing the job. I like Sean Couturier. Always liked him. Wanted him on this team instead of Ryan Strome. I've been on the record for that forever. Maybe the injuries caught up with him. But you know what? You know where you stand with Tortorella. The more I listen to Patrick Waugh, the more I think, my gosh, this is Jack Capuano Jr.
Oof. I get the same exact vibes, and it's not good. Now, because we didn't talk about Sunday. Isn't it funny, right? We're not even talking about Sunday's game. I know we did our podcast last Saturday. We're not even talking about the absolute throttling when we got shut out by the Devils, the lowly New Jersey Devils who are beneath us in the standings, shut out by them 5-0 at home. I'm not even talking about that. But I did want to go ahead and showcase this, right? It's funny. We're seeing on social media the court of public opinion change in front of our very eyes about who should be the captain and who's not. Now, this was our little Anders Lee. Oof. And now I think he came back that game. He's fine, long story short. But I'm like,
that's intent to injure stuff. You do stuff like that.
We're getting shut out 4-0. Here's Anders Lee doing some shit like this.
Oh. Here's what happens. When you do something like that to their captain, it fired the Devils up. I'm going to tell you right now. But you know what it does? It gives other teams, you're going to take a run at one of our better players. We're going to go take a run at Matt Barzal. That's all it does. No one takes a run at Anders Lee. You want to know why? Because he was one of the worst players in the league. Why would you go after a piece of shit like that? You go after the good players. Anders Lee's not a difference maker. You go after the difference makers. I mean, and they kept making the excuses. Even Danico was making excuses on the Devil broadcast. He's not like that. He's probably just frustrated. You know what? We see a lot of this stuff from him. Is that what you want as a captain? Some type of loose cannon out there all the time?
It's so obvious, right? You don't accidentally say, "Ooh, let me just go ahead and honestly, he sure is very fortunate here. His leg is not planting and extending right here because that's how you tear a knee apart and you miss all of next season too. Because that's some dirty shit right there. You don't do stuff like that. I think overwhelming right support is Bo Horvat should be the captain of this team. See you later, Anders Lee. You're no longer the captain. You don't deserve to wear the C. Thanks for your service there, but you're not the captain. You're not the cap. I don't like the mentality you have. You don't have the, hey, I want to fight for every single inch on the ice like you used to. You don't deserve to wear the C. Bo Horvat or Matt Barzal should be wearing the C at this point and not Anders Lee.
You're not a good enough player to have the captaincy. because there's a lot of nights where you're going to sit going forward because your game just isn't good enough. You are below average at this point. You're not even average anymore. You're below average. For $7 million, I mean, just below average. Well, we knew this is where it was going. But
You like you like to stick out of the little leg. Yep. I'm like, God almighty.
I mean, he absolutely knew what he was doing. And I just want to say this, Islander fans, if there were some who listen to this show who believe everything is, rosy and sunshine, what would you think if somebody had done that to Matt Barzell? You'd be up in arms. We'd be up in arms in it too.
Yes.
I'm not saying he was trying to blow his knee out, but he absolutely knew what he was doing there. Absolutely.
Here's the problem I have is because it always goes through cycles. Sometimes your team's going to do stuff like that, and sometimes other teams are going to do things like that to you. And I'm going to be absolutely irate when other teams try to because guess what? We're not going to have Matt Martin on the team next year, guys. We're not going to have Cal Clutterbuck on the team. Who has the teeth for the Islanders, right? For a while, it's always been Matt Martin gets into the fights. He's the enforcer. So is Cal Clutterbuck or Cizikas, right? You take out Matt Martin. You take out guys like Cal Clutterbuck. What stops a more physical team from doing that and saying, who's going to answer the bell and fight me? Is Brock Nelson going to answer the bell?
No.
Is Matt
Not him?
Answer the bell?
Brock Nelson?
Well, that's my point. Could you imagine right next year is Kempe or Reeves, right? Who's answering the bell for those type of guys? We don't have Matt Martin anymore. We don't have guys who are the big physical guys that we've become accustomed to on the Islanders team to fight for. Is Ryan Pulak answering the bell? How about Adam Pelech? Is Noah Dobson or Romanov going to get in the fist fight? No. So it's just like, it just makes me think, God almighty, I hope these people have short memories and they don't remember things like this.
It just, like I said, for me anyway, it's just so frustrating. And for Islander fans, once again, the Lamanites, I'm talking to the Lamanites here. You beat Florida. Did you feel good about that win? Do you feel good with the way we're playing? It seems like we're just kind of scuffling around. There are games where we play a good game. Absolutely. But there are times where, we're just not that good.
Well, Grumpy,
I mean, we should honestly have to beat the Flyers.
We should come away with 6 points. We have to come away with 6 points out of these next 3 games. Absolute requirement, right? The Flyers tomorrow. We've got here the Blackhawks and the Blue Jackets. It is inexcusable by the time period we have our podcast there on Saturday that we don't have at least 6 points out of these 3 opponents.
Cannot lose to the Flyers, period. You have to beat
I'd argue that you have to win in regulation.
Yes, exactly. Cannot give the Flyers a point. They're 5 points up. They're 5. And how many times have we laid eggs against teams like Chicago and Columbus? We've done that too, just like the Flyers have done, just like Washington's done, just like Detroit has done. You want to know why? Because all those teams suck. Just like Pittsburgh's done, just like the Devils have done. All those teams suck, all of them. And when I say suck, I mean not Stanley Cup contenders. They're just afterthoughts. What are the odds of the Islanders winning the Stanley Cup? 1 billion to 1? Because I think that, honestly, I wouldn't even put $1 on that. No shot.
At 1 billion to 1, I put $1 on. I might even put 10. Hell, I'll just skip lunch one day and say, hey, I'm putting $10. And hey, if the Islanders win, we're sitting at 10 billion, Grump.
It's just, to me, it's just really, really frustrating.
The Islanders, by the way, played 73 games. You want to take a guess how many games we've won in regulation this year?
I looked at it. I don't remember. Like 23, 24.
23, right? So what's the likelihood we beat the Flyers in regulation tomorrow?
Is that game in Philadelphia? I think that game's in Philadelphia too.
Yes, that's in
Philadelphia's going to come to play. Philadelphia's lost 4 in a row. Tortorella's going to have them ready to play. They're going to come out with their hair on fire.
Yesterday.
I'm sorry?
They just lost to the Blackhawks yesterday.
Yeah, they've lost 4 in a row?
Yes.
I mean, if they don't come out and play with their hair, and here's the thing, the Flyers are not as talented as we are. They're just not.
Then look at the last 6 games of the regular season. My God.
They play harder than we do. And if this is the last 6 games, Predators, that's a loss. Chalk it up. You want to know why? We never beat the Predators. Never. They're a team that's on the roll. Rangers, play them twice. That's 2 automatic losses. Automatic losses. You're only looking at 6 points. So realistically, if you have 12 more points than you have now, that gives you what? 87 points? Is that enough to get you into the 89 points. Is that enough to get you into the playoffs? I don't know. It's going to be awful tight. Cannot lose to the Flyers. Cannot go 7 points down to the Flyers. Can't do it. Must beat the Flyers. Must beat the Flyers. You don't beat the Flyers, season's over. Season's over. You're not beating the Rangers. You're not going to beat the Predators. Maybe you lose the last 6 games of the season. That's a possibility too. Like I said, Devils 1 point behind. Pittsburgh 2 points behind. They've given up. Montreal, hey, they've beaten the Flyers. Maybe Montreal, some of these crappy teams want to play spoiler at the end. That's what they want to do. It's all about playing spoiler. I mean, is that the best you'll have to hope for? That some of these teams, we're ready to quit. You listen to the lead Laminite. Oh, well, the Rangers, have nothing to play for. I'm like, yeah, they're going to have something to play for. I mean, I just don't like the direction of the team. Where are we going? How long is it going to take to get there? I want a team that's a winner. Yep. How many guys are really worth anything on this team? You've seen Noah Dobson's taking a step back at the end of the year too. Absolutely. Some guys work better with other coaches. Maybe Patty Waugh's style. You know what it doesn't seem to be working with? The stars on this team. I mean,
Appar's all being demoted down the lineup.
I mean, how is he on the third line? How is your best player playing on third line? Oh, the lines don't mean anything. Yeah, they do mean something.
Noah Dobson's struggling. Let me ask you this. Has the record been resoundingly fantastic under Patrick Waugh, right? Why do you fire a guy midseason? It's to get immediate results.
It's worse than Lane Lambert. It's worse than it was under Lane Lambert. The record. The overall record is worse than it was under Lane Lambert. It's not the coach. Okay. Right. Everyone was getting mad at Lambert. Well, he's just, he keeps changing lines the whole time. What do you think Juan does? He's changing them all the time too. You want to know why? And he's finding out the same thing that Lambert knew and that Trotz knew. The team isn't good enough. No one is coming to rescue this team. Nobody. There's nobody in the minors. Look at the records. Look at the record. Lambert's record's better than Waugh's. We're absolutely. If you want to have
points, I wonder if we did the percentage of points. What the percentage of points looked like under Lane Lambert's tenure compared to Patrick Waugh.
He's got 4 more wins.
Patrick Waugh's had enough time to instill his coaching style, to instill what he wants to do. He's been in charge of this team for over 2 months, right? Oh, well, he's going to need a full off season. We need to see what he's coached 28 games, 12.
It's not his fault. It's not his fault.
It's not. That's my thing, though. And guess what? For everybody who is blaming Lane Lambert, oh, Lane's so miserable. Oh, we need to get rid of him and all of our problems are fixed. Then it was the same exact crowd who couldn't stop blaming Lane Lambert for the team's failure. Now all of a sudden just switched the blame on Lane Lambert and said, oh, well, now it's actually Sorokin's fault. He's not playing like the Vezina candidate we've become accustomed to. It's Sorokin's fault. No, it's not the coach. And it's not the goalie. It's the person who's assembled the team and has put them together. That's the real problem, right? When you're 23rd in the NHL in goals for and 23rd in the NHL in goals against, you are not.
You shouldn't even be in a playoff conversation. You're not even top half of the league offensively or defensively. You're a bottom third of the league team. That's just it. You're a bottom, and it's not getting better. You think it's getting better next year when everybody's old? No money on the salary cap. Do you trust the old man to make a move to move somebody off the roster?
Well, it's funny. You talked about, right? Let's say the Islanders were to come away, right? They've got 77 points currently. Let's say they win 7. You said 7 of their last however many games. Is that what you said, Grump?
I think they'll lose all the games, Rusty.
Okay, stop. So we've got 9 games left. Let's say we win 7 of our last 9.
You're not winning 7 games. You're not winning 7 games.
I'm just saying, let's hypothetically play around and say we win, or let's just say even we win 6 of our last 9 games, right? That gives us 89 points. Well, here's the bad thing. The Flyers and Washington both have 82 points already, right? The Flyers, we've got 2 games in hand over the Flyers. That being said, right, the Flyers, right, in order to get to 89, any tie-breaking scenario, we lose. We have no wins in regulation compared to all of the other teams that we're fighting against in the suck zone. It's just that simple. When you look at it, you think to yourself, okay, gotcha. 7 games. I'm sorry, 7 points. The Flyers only need 7 points out of their last 7 games. They got to go a point a game. Right? That means if they beat us, it's as good as over. Right?
Right.
It's the same thing, right? For the Red Wings, right? They only need 9 points. They need 9 points, and they'll be ahead of us in that scenario too. I think assuming that we're going to win 6 of our last 9 games is probably more favorable than what will happen. But I'm willing to entertain that maybe we get hot down the stretch. Maybe we win 6 of our last 9 games. But
hold on. What have the Islanders done this year to say that they're going to win 6 out of 9 against some good teams?
Hey, we went on that 6-game winning streak right around the trade deadline.
And then we lost, 7 in a row?
6 in a row, I think. 5, maybe won 5 and lost 6. Who knows? I don't know. It's been completely average under Patrick Waugh. And guess what? He was not the magic elixir that everybody thought he would be. I almost want to tick the clock back and go back through all the tweets of everybody saying, oh, this is, jump aboard. The Stanley Cup is here. We got a new head coach. The record has been just the same, if not worse, under Patrick Waugh. 12-12-4. He knows what he has on this team. He's been in charge here for almost 30 games. He knows what he has here. That's simple. He knows that. I don't know.
He knows it. You know, one thing that he's realized already, you can't take the 2 Swedish softies and put them on the ice at the same time. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Can't do it. I'm going to tell you what. Pierre Engvall is even worse than I thought. He's even worse than I thought. He's even softer than I thought. I'm going to give Simon Holmstrom his props. All right. He's not going to win any board battles, but at least he tries sometimes. At least he'll attempt to go into a corner. Engvall just refuses. Maybe that's why he's been benched.
I don't dislike Simon Holmstrom. He's a young guy. I think his upside is limited, relatively speaking. I think he's probably a good bottom sixer. But it's just like the reason
he's an okay bottom 6 guy. There's nothing special about Simon Holmstrom. Get off of that bandwagon. He had 5 shorthanded goals in a month. Other than that, he's been a 0 this year. A 0.
Yeah. Okay.
There's nothing special about Simon Holmstrom.
After we got rolled, he could
play the hell out, except he could play the hell out of a banjo if he was living in Appalachia somewhere.
I will say this. When you look at it, during that 4 days of rest or 3 days of rest after we got shut out by the Devils, they had a Q&A for the season ticket holders, to the Islanders, to the Islander players. Matt Barzal was there. They had Bertuzzo. They had a whole bunch of very, very talented guys. I think Oliver Wahlstrom was there, guys who make huge impacts on the team. But a little child asked the question, and I'll let you listen to it, and let's see the response here.
My favorite player. Boys, do we think we're going to make the playoffs?
Boys, do we think we're going to make the playoffs? That should be a very easy question to answer, but let's see.
I'm thinking that's the goal, right, you guys? Always the goal. That's a good question, and I think I can answer it by saying you guys are doing everything you can to make that happen, right? Big trip to Florida coming up. All right, over here.
Woo!
You like how Shannon Hogan doesn't even allow them to answer the question, says, don't worry, I'm fielding this one. You guys just stay quiet. I think that's the goal, right? That's what we're fighting for. That's what we want, is to make the playoffs, right, guys? That's what we're going to fight for. We got a big trip coming up to Florida.
Hey, can I just say something? If Shannon ever loses the gig with the Islanders, she could be White House press person.
Secretary.
Yeah, press secretary. Don't let him. Don't answer any question.
That's what we're trying for. That's what all of us are pulling for. That wasn't even a hard question. It was asked by a child. That's the obvious answer, but I love how Shannon didn't even leave any. That's what we're going to be fighting for. Asked it to the players. That's what we'll be fighting for, right, guys? I did kind of find that funny. I do like Shannon Hogan, but I was just like, oh man, they're not even letting them answer softball questions like that. It's I'm kind of left just scratching my head. Again, 2 wins and 8 losses in our last 10 games. Not good enough. Every other team around us in the suck zone has been giving us every opportunity to move up in the standings, and we just have not taken that, their gift. We just
we're not good enough. We are in the suck zone. It's just not going to get better. How many guys on this team can take their game to the next level? realistically, how many guys you say, okay, this guy's at the start, he's budding, he's going to be able to take it to left field? Maybe, maybe Noah Dobson. That's it.
Kyle Palmieri is going to have an even better year next year.
Because that's what 32-year-olds do. So, Brock Nelson has gone backwards.
He has. He's definitely gone backwards this year. We asked every year, we asked the question, when will we start to see him take a step backwards? The answer is already. He's done that now.
That's why you move a guy at the deadline. That's why you move a guy at the deadline. You should have seen this coming. When the team is good again, he'll be long gone. Yes. That's why you move guys. And it's everything's on the GM. I mean, it's like, well, how do you fix it? I mean, that'll be off season, right? But you have to have somebody who's willing, a general manager who's willing to actually be honest with what the team has if they're good enough. And our guy just isn't. You want to know how you make the team better? You get rid of Lou Lamoriello. It's the only thing you can do. It's how you have to start.
It's funny. The same exact Lamanites are back on their normal trail of shitting on Noah Dobson. They like to do that. Oh, he's collapsed these last 15, ever since the All-Star break, or ever since this point. He's really played poorly. Look at him. He's got a -14. What they don't mention is that Patrick Wall, right? Anytime you have the goalie pulled and you give up a goal, that hurts your plus-minus. And guess what? Patrick Wall likes to pull the goalie, even if we're down by 2 or 3 goals.
10 minutes to go, he's pulling a goalie.
Yep. He says, screw it. We're going to give up we're going to give up an empty net goal every damn game, and we don't give a shit how it happens. We're going to go down fighting. I like that mentality, but that's going to hurt your plus minus. It's why the entire team's plus minus has gone down significantly under him. The thing I also want to bring attention to, if you look at his average, right? Noah Dobson.
That's it.
Looky there. Look at the time on ice. Noah Dobson, right? He had played 21.28 minutes, 20.23 minutes last year. He's averaging 25.03 minutes of time on ice. He's already played more. Think about this. We have 9 games left before the season's over. He's already played over 100 minutes more than he's ever played in any other season.
Yep.
Guess what? You know, I'm expecting a guy like that to kind of sputter at the end. It's the same thing when Adam Fox won the Norris Trophy. Oh, he struggled so much in the postseason. It's because they used it. It was his first year getting utilized like that in a regular season, and he ran out of gas towards the end of the year. It's his first time doing that. And guess what? This is Noah Dobson, our young, budding 24-year-old defenseman's first time ever playing over 1,717 minutes, right? He's already at 1,800. He's probably going to be at 2,000 minutes before the season's over.
And his game has absolutely tailed off. He was directly responsible for the Barkov goal.
Yes.
Against Florida. Absolutely. He lost his man. I don't know what he was doing, and it got popped in. That's on Dobson. You're not going to hear me blame Varlamov for that. He didn't do the proper defensive coverage. The guy lost his guy.
Yep.
Right, right in front of the goal. He can't do it. Can't do it. His game has tailed off. I think it's because he's playing so much minutes.
Maybe it's got something to do with playing for the first time ever 25 minutes a night on average.
That's like 5 minutes more a night than he's ever played before.
Oh, 4 minutes. 4 minutes. 20
4 minutes and 40 seconds. Okay, 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Might as well be 5 minutes. I mean, why does he get that ice time? Because he's by far the best defenseman on this team. That's for certain. I mean, you want Pellick and Pulak out there? They're an embarrassment now defensively. Romanov? Again, a defense doesn't know where he is on the ice half the time. Riley, he's useless. I hate Riley. I hate him. He cannot be gone soon enough for my liking. He thinks he's a freaking forward. He thinks he's a forward. And that's the way he plays defense, as a forward. He's the worst defense. He's the worst defenseman we have is that Riley. I don't care. Well, look at how he carries the puck if he doesn't play any defense.
You want to know the funny thing? How many times did we hear it this offseason? Oh, Anders Lee, when he's playing full seasons, he never scores less than 28 goals.
He ain't scoring 28 goals this year.
He's guaranteed 28 goals. Remember that? Guaranteed 28 goals. Well, when you look at the fall off, oh, wow. Going from 32 to 33 years old, 50 points to 32 currently on the season. I'm going to let you know something. Don't expect him hitting 50 points anytime soon. I'm not expecting him at 34 years old hitting 50 points again. These years, 50 plus points a year are in the rear view mirror, ladies and gentlemen. Even 46 and 76 games and 50 and 82. It's not like at 32, 34 or 35 years old to be seeing the best play from Anders Lee ever. Just don't expect that. He is playing worse and worse every single year.
What's that old Herb Brooks thing? You get worse every day and you're playing like it's the middle of next month. I mean, that's the way it is. He's done. He's done. If this was the NFL, he's a cut. He's a guy who's cut in the offseason. And he never gets signed by anybody else. See you later.
It's funny. We talk about guys like Brock. I wonder what Brock Nelson's done as of recent, right? And I like Brock Nelson. I'm a big Brock Nelson guy.
Yes,
but I
you
wonder
are.
I wonder what Brock Nelson's numbers have looked like over the last stretch of games, right? A guy who has been consistent, a steady Eddie for us. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The last 10 games, he's got 4 points, no goals and 4 assists.
There you go.
From a guy who's a point a game player down a stretch like this, look at this. Ever since our losing streak.
And he's playing a lot of minutes too. It's not like he's riding the bench. He's getting over 20 minutes a night, right?
Yeah. It's my thing, right? Like, it's easy to point out certain players, but it's collectively as a unit, our team is not playing well. Your Brock Nelsons, your Noah Dobsons, across the board, players are not playing well at the absolute money portion of the season.
Is it possible that they've already tuned out Wah?
Oh my God, that'd be the worst case scenario possible.
Because to me, they should know Wah's the next GM. They should know that in their heart of hearts. They should know that. If they don't, they're stupid. They didn't bring him in just to coach. I'm telling you again.
So remember how everybody's talking about the terrible plus minus for Noah Dobson. Do you want to take a guess what Brock Nelson's plus minus is over those last 10 games as well?
No idea. And Dobson has not been good. Everyone knows I'm the biggest. I love Noah Dobson. He's not been good down the stretch.
Brock Nelson in the last 10 games is a minus 11. 4 points, minus 11, 0 goals. It's funny how I'm not seeing anybody online talk about that. I'm seeing everybody shit on guys like Noah Dobson. I'm not seeing anybody talk about the poor performance. And I like Brock Nelson. It's funny to see how certain players receive criticism from the fan base and other players don't. Brock Nelson's receiving 0 criticism from the fan base, and maybe people should look at him with a little bit of scrutiny as well. That's it. We're going to jump into some comments here.
Let's do the ad read first.
You got the ad? Yes, I know, Grumpy. We're going to jump into the ad read first, and we're going to jump into some comments here. And, we're going to do our best there on that side. We have no Son X with us here today to help start comments. So we're trying to do our best there on that side. Today's broadcast is brought to you by DraftKings. We know that hockey games move fast, but DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports media partner of the NHL, you can move faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. You've heard us talk plenty of times about the same game parlays. You could say, I'm expecting Noah Dobson to score a goal. I'm expecting Matt Barzal to have a multi-point game. I'm expecting Anders Lee to have 0 points on the board. Where you can add a whole bunch of those same game parlays up to increase your payout and wager there that you can go ahead and receive in that payout. But again, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN. New customers can bet $5 on the NHL and get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code THPN. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. And New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available if you have a gambling problem. If you call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of the Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. You must be 21 years or older, but age varies by jurisdiction. It's void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility, deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, Grumpy. We've been reading that one for a while, that's for certain. But let's look at some of these comments here we've got rolling in. First comment comes from Dallas McDonald Grump.
Palmieri will not be worth any more than he'll be worth this summer, younger and faster.
Yeah, he's played right, giving credit where credit's due. Kyle Palmieri, right? He's played well over the last 15, 20 games. Under Patrick Waugh, right, there's a lot of guys who've struggled. Noah Dobson, Brock Nelson, Matt Barzal, Ilya Sorokin. Kyle Palmieri is one of the few players that have played better.
True.
Yeah.
But does it matter? Does it matter?
Let me ask you this. If you have 1 or 2 players take a step forward, but 5 or 6 of your good players take a step backwards, what does that say potentially about the coaching hire?
I don't have a problem with the coaching hire. It's the players. It's the players. It's the players. It's not the coach. It's the players. Here's the thing. Maybe Kyle Palmieri's worried that he might get traded at in the offseason. They might want to move his $5 million to get something else to come in. And he's all of a sudden, well, I want to stay here because there's no accountability on this team. We can suck every single year and we're still going to be here and get big contract extensions. Maybe that's his thought process. Anybody who can get moved off this roster, except for 4 guys, I'm willing to move anyone off this team.
Yep. Brett W. Grumpy.
He's really late this time. Talking about
That's
you,
true.
TJ.
I am. But we just did it a day late there because we had X in town and we were spending time with family that evening. Scott L.
Islanders most likely aren't making the playoffs. Is it time to bring up Ishikov, Maggio, and maybe another player from Bridgeport to see what they have the rest of the season? I don't think they like Ishikov. I don't think he's ever going to get a shot. Is Maggio really ready? I don't think I just think we overrate our prospects. I just do.
Yep.
They all have defects to them. Let's just put it to you that way.
We want them to be good, right? And even if, let's say we had a really good prospect pool, we still would be overrating our prospects.
Everybody does.
It's
Everybody
natural for a team to overrate the prospects that they have in their system. It's that simple. And I think we are no different of a fan base than every other fan base out there in the NHL. So anytime you're hearing, things could be okay with guy A, B, or C, just expect it to be a little less than that because we are probably overrating our prospects the same way every other fan base does.
That's right. Every fan base does it. You know what? Because there's hope. There's hope in the young guys. Everyone knows the guys that they look aren't good enough. And they say, well, gosh, this young guy, he's going to be the answer. Most of them aren't. Some are. Most aren't. I mean, do we think that 4th and 5th round picks are going to be the answer to turning this team around? I don't. You're hoping to get some contribution from them. Simon Holmstrom, 1st round pick. Everyone, he's a first liner. No, he's not. He's a bottom 6 guy. Sorry.
Double up, Buck Prep, Grumpy.
TJ and Grumpster, happy Easter. Happy Easter. Got to give it to you, Grump. You nailed it this year. There's only one thing you got wrong. You said they lost a step. Nope, they lost 2 steps. I disagree. I think it's only been 1 step. I'll still stick with that.
What's up, Double Up, Buck Prep? Hopefully you're doing well. Mark A says the Eastern Conference is terrible. I agree.
True.
Compared to the Western Conference, Eastern Conference is Charmin soft.
Now, you still might see the champion come out of the East.
It depends.
But top to bottom, playoff spots, there's 6 teams. There's only 6 teams even worthy of a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. 6.
Yeah, the wild card spots I don't think deserve. And I'd even argue that 6
I'll
spots.
throw Tampa in there as a legit
Third
place.
place in the Metro and the last wild card position don't deserve it, in my opinion.
Yes.
But they will. Yes, what we could see is the Western Conference is so tough and the playoffs are so tough and physical that they beat the hell out of each other, that the Eastern Conference team may have some rest and they're going to maybe win, perhaps. But guess what? Tampa, like always, is playing playoff-style hockey at the end of the season. 8 wins in the last 10 games.
They're the chances of Tampa doing anything is going to be matchup related, I think.
So they're going to be playing Boston possibly in the first round, right? Unless Boston leapfrogs over the Rangers have the number 1 spot. Tampa right now is in the number 1 wild card spot. They'd be playing Boston.
They beat Boston. I don't think they beat
Boston too.
I don't think they beat teams with speed. I think they suffer from the same thing the Islanders do. An older team, not super fast, where the teams that are aggressive on the forecheck and have great speed beat them, except they have legitimate talented players.
Tampa's only 4 points behind Toronto, the same amount of games played. Is it inconceivable, right? In the last 9 games, right? We're talking about the Islanders, right? The Islanders are going to jump, right? They're going to jump 5 points up to go ahead and make it, right? Then it's possible for Tampa to jump over Toronto.
I don't see it.
Okay, Scott L. Copy.
I hate to say this, but as much as I and every other Islander fan hates the Rangers, they're going to go on a major run in the playoffs. I could see them in the Eastern Conference Final against Florida. Florida's scuffling right now.
They've been scuffling for a while. They're not playing good hockey right now. I think you look at it, you're like, oh yeah.
If we played Florida 2 weeks ago, we get beat 8-0.
think about it. Even the Detroit Red Wings, right? The Red Wings lost in shootout, but it was a close game, and the Red Wings had a lead the majority of that game too. But it was like the Red Wings, typical choking fashion, trying to find a way not to make the postseason, or choking points and games away left and right at the end of the season.
Yep. What's worst case scenario for the Islanders? Not making the playoffs, or the Rangers winning the cup?
Right. The worst case scenario for the Islanders is the Islanders squeak in at the 8th seed and get swept
by the Rangers.
Oh my God, that would be the worst. And the Rangers go on to win the Stanley Cup. That would be the absolute worst case scenario for the Islanders.
That would be 8 losses to the Rangers a year. 8-0. Because we're not beating the Rangers. We're never beating the Rangers. Not happening.
Hey, how many games do you think we're going to see Shesterkin versus Jonathan Quick at the end of the season?
I don't know. All I know is that the Rangers are so much better than the Islanders. It's scary. There's no comparison between two teams. None.
Scott Levy.
What do you think of Waz's crazy line juggling last night? He just throwing shit up against the wall, hope something sticks.
Same thing Lane Lambert did, but Lane Lambert used to receive incompetence. Oh, he's so incompetent as a coach because he's just going to the blender and he's mixing everything up. Patrick Waugh does the same thing. And it's funny. Oh, man, Patrick Waugh is really being innovative. It's because he's perceived as a great hockey mind because he was a really good goalie back when he played. But maybe he's just as clueless as an actual game manager as Lane Lambert was.
I'm not blaming Patrick Waugh. I didn't blame Lane Lambert.
I know. I'm not blaming either of them either.
Yeah. Okay. Like I said, for the line thing, what can you do? There's nothing. You're limited by what you have. It's like putting me and TJ on there. I don't care what lines you put us on. We're going to suck.
Andrew said, will you guys be going live later for the other show, the TJ Group? But maybe not. We got to talk about it. We'll spend some time with the fam. So we've got Grumpy in town. So, and the warden. So yeah, we'll try to spend.
I'm with the warden.
I'm with the warden.
I don't have a chair, but I'm with the warden.
Jeffrey Kowalski says here.
Okay, it's not Kowalski. It's not Kowalski.
Kozlowski.
Thank you.
Jeffrey K says, why change the lines up after beating Florida?
Do you realize how poorly we played, Jeff? And this is not a slam against you. Do you realize how poorly we played against Florida? We were dominated in that game. That's why you change them up. Throttled. We won the game because their goaltenders sucked. Stolarz sucked. He's a backup for a reason.
His save percentage against 5-on-5 hockey was a 950 this year.
I could care less. He sucks.
Oh, God. Oh.
He's a backup for a reason. As a matter of fact, if Knight was there or Lyon was there, he wouldn't even, he's an afterthought. Plays against crappy teams. He beats crappy teams because he's on a good team. That's why he's so good. That's why his numbers look good. He plays against the San Jose's, the Anaheims. That's why.
We've got
the Islanders. He plays against teams like the Islanders.
Matthew S. Grumpy.
Only Tampa's played well. Every other team has struggled. We have no one to blame but ourselves. Coach was never the issue, but all the Lamanites wanted Langone. Exactly. Instead of looking at them, it's cool. You know what? It's real easy to blame one guy than 20 guys.
The same reason why the finger went from being pointed at Lane Lambert when they said, we can't point the finger yet at Patrick Waugh. So who is the only singular person we could point a finger at? Goalie. Sorokin. And guess what? If Varley played poorly, be both of our goalies, Varley and Sorokin. Both of them had just played bad this year, and they need to be having a good offseason to play better hockey next year. It's easy to point the finger at one person.
If you want to point the finger at one person, it's Lou Lamoriello. We said this 3 years ago now. Everything on this team, because we were hard on Barry Trotz.
Yes,
we were hard on Barry Trotz.
And wrongfully so.
Retrospectively, not Barry's fault. Yep. Everything stems from the guy one floor up, Lou Lamoriello. His refusal to alter this team has led us to where we are right now. Anyone who denies that, anyone who says that that's wrong is just a fool. So if any of your Laminite buddies tell you that, just tell them to listen to this show. We'll straighten them out.
Oh, no.
And Tampa, let's give Tampa credit, right? They scuffled all year long. Didn't even look like they were even going to make the playoffs, 2 months ago. They know how to win. When it's nut cutting time, they know how to play the game. And goes for me, the first two names that have to be shipped out other than the two UFAs of the India are Lee and Pajot. You can get rid of it. Is that even going to make a difference? Well, who are you going to fill in? You know what teams are doing? What teams are so much smarter now? They lock up their young players before they become UFAs. They buy out years of unrestricted free agency. Oh, you want to sign somebody? Oh, yeah, there's a couple of 32-year-olds out here that you can sign for big extensions. Yeah, Steven Stamkos. He's going to be available. Maybe we should bring him in at 32 years old.
We would give Steven Stamkos a 7-year deal, probably paying him $8+ million a year.
Is that worth it? I don't think so.
I'd say no. We would.
You know what else? Tampa doesn't either.
With too much term and too much money attached to it for Steven Stamkos. Hey, I wonder where D-Cut is telling me how Steven Stamkos had less points than Brock Nelson, how Brock Nelson was playing so much better than him. I wonder how things are looking right now for Steven Stamkos.
A little scared to come on.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, freedom, fun, and adventure, Grumpy.
I cannot tell if Grumpy's got a chair. No chair. Happy Easter to Grumpy, a.k.a. Mr. 5-Star International, Liza's dad, and ex-Clubber Lang. Folks, so happy for any win, but missing the playoffs is best for the team. I agree. I think missing the playoffs is best case scenario for this team. Why? Maybe ownership says, this is not working. This is not working. You're not allowed to trade away first-round draft picks. This group is done with. They were never good enough to win a cup. They had chances to augment the team when you were just, a step behind Tampa. Chose not to do it. Now you are what you are. Move the old man out. The only way to get rid of him is to be bad. Sorry.
Okay. John Santamaria, Grump.
As part of the rebuild, which needs to start now, I think the Islanders should give Ishikov and Koivula from Bridgeport a taste of the NHL and give them a vision of what is to be. That's my hope. Koivula is not an NHL guy. He doesn't skate well enough.
Yeah.
Ishikov, he feels like a 4A guy to me.
How do you know, though, if you don't give him a chance?
Yeah, I don't think they like him.
I don't think they do. Dude, I was listening in a space to these Laminite losers. Just because Ishikov hasn't received his chance yet doesn't mean the Islanders don't like him. They want him to develop into a full 200-foot player. I'm like, the motherfucker is 24 years old, right? What are you expecting him to develop more playing in the AHL? At this point, what additional is he going to learn from 24 to 20? You're not going to actually learn how to play at the top level unless you actually are playing at the top level. He's not going to be a bottom six grinder. He's a skill set of a guy who's a skilled top two line guy, right? Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but he's never going to be a guy who's a grinder at 5'7" or 5'8", 110 pounds. I don't know how big he is, but he's tiny. He's got to be a guy who's a skilled player. He's never going to be a guy who develops a full 200-foot game. Are you fucking mental? Have you lost your mind? Listen to people say stupid shit like that. Just send me over the edge.
You notice we don't even talk about Oliver Wahlstrom anymore.
He's an afterthought.
He's done. He's done here.
Here's the thing. I think right where I put blame, I think that absolutely Lane Lambert botched that situation by starting him off in preseason, playing with guys like Dmytro Timashov and Dmitry Kuhlman and guys who had no shot, and I mean no shot to make the NHL roster. And they said, here you go, you're going to ride the pine for the first 20 games, and then we're going to give you a few games here or there, but we're going to give you 3 games at a time playing 11 minutes a night. They just gave him no shot. They killed him.
And then they force-fed Simon Holmstrom. The only thing offensive about him is his smell. I mean, he's the only guy they put him on that first line. They wanted him to be on the first line. He was so bad, he played himself off the first line like I knew he would because he's just not good enough. Sorry. Oh, how they force-fed Pierre Engvall on the second line. Well, you know what? I knew he wasn't good enough either. He's a bottom 6 guy. Glad we gave him a 7-year contract extension. Everything that stinks with this team, it rots from the head. That's Lou Lamoriello. He bungled everything on this team. Since he brought us to respectability, he did what he was supposed to do, move him out. He's no longer a legitimate NHL general manager, just isn't.
Yep. Dominic Rinaldi, Grumpy.
I'm so sick of people shitting on Sorokin. If anything, the team should offer an apology for what they did to him this season. Absolutely. People, like a lot of fans are just they only look from here to here. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, people forget how great he was earlier in the year. Were his numbers as good? No, but you know what? He kept us in how many games? I called them Sorokin points, losing games in overtime, where he was just good enough to get us into the shootout to lose in extra time. You know what? He hasn't been that way the last month. He absolutely has not been.
Is that because he's faced the most shots in the NHL?
Well, maybe he doesn't respond to Patrick Waugh's style of coaching.
Maybe he doesn't respond well to when a head coach comes out there and shits on him in the middle of the press.
Yeah.
Might have something to do with it. Player relations. Let's see how Patrick Waugh is in the player relations department.
I'd love Patrick Waugh to come out and rip the shit out of Anders Lee. Let's see how he responds because he's been invisible. Or Brock Nelson.
We only point the finger at Sorokin.
Yeah,
Sorokin.
he's easy.
Sorokin. He's not playing 100%. We need to see him play better. And he needs to be playing better. He knows that. Hey, Varley is our guy. He's earned it. Oh, okay. Sure he has. Gotcha. Big Al's fan says here the Varlamov argument by the fans are smoking or by their fans are smoking crack.
True.
Yep. Sadist Rival says here bottom line is that we need better players.
True.
Freedom for Adventure says here fans who attempt to blame either goalie don't know what they're watching, but it's the easiest to blame the goalie. My dad played high level soccer in Europe, and we never wanted me to play goalie for that reason. Yep. He's always the first guy to get blamed because he's the last line of defense. And hey, if we're giving up goals, even if we're not scoring them, let's blame the goalie.
And Freedom Fighter says his dad didn't want to do that because of that reason. No, he didn't want to do that because you weren't good enough.
Matthew S says here.
I'm only kidding. I'm kidding.
D-Cut sleeps with that expected goals average. He pets it when he goes to sleep. Oh, good gracious.
That's a loser argument. Sorry, D-Cut. You know we love you. We love everybody.
We like
everybody who listens to this show. We love, even the ones who don't. But yeah, no. Sorry.
Kutchite revenge.
No Strong Islanders GM since Bill Torrey. Unbelievable. That's fair. That's very fair.
I'd say the first two maybe early on under Lou Lamoriello was strong.
He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything to make the team better. He brought in freaking retreads. He brought in guys who were finished.
Jerry Trotz in, and he got Sorokin over here.
I don't care.
That's important.
I don't care. I don't care.
I give him credit for that. Sorry. Freedom from Adventure, Grumpy.
I spoke with some former hockey players and scouts that are retired here in Florida. All say the Islanders have ownership, building, and very good new core to win. All said Lou ain't going to do hard working on the roster. Yeah, that's why we're not winning. That's why anybody says, well, I don't want to hear you complain anymore, right? We want to hear, well, what can we do? You got to get rid of the general manager. That's number one. Got to get rid of the GM. Until you move the GM, there's going to be no change in this team. No substantial change.
I don't disagree, Grumpy. I don't disagree. John Santa Maria.
Didn't Iko Shesterkin have an off year? Gosh, in 22-23, Sorokin is not the problem. He's a good. Absolutely. Goaltenders, that happens to goaltenders all the time. Well, nobody was saying that he sucked.
Look at this. Oh, wow. He had 916, and that was off year for him last year.
Look at this year.
He's had a worse save percentage and a worse goals against average this year. I don't hear the Ranger fans saying we need to get rid. Shesterkin sucks. We shouldn't give him a big contract extension. He's been miserable. Look at this. His goals saved above expected, right? This is the lowest we've seen since he's been a starter. Only 11.8. He needs to do much better than that. We need more out of Shesterkin. No, because
this is the worst year he's ever had. This is the worst year he's ever had is this year.
Worst save percentage, worst goals against average of his entire NHL career.
Interesting.
I'm sorry.
Interesting.
Huh. Hey, let's start. I wonder when the Ranger fans are going to start shitting on Shesterkin.
They don't do it. They don't do it.
Yeah, maybe we should take note. Frank K. Grumpy.
Varley gave up 3 goals, which none of them were on him. They lose 8-1 last night without. I disagree. Varley at least battles as opposed to Sorokin, who looks like he quit long ago. Sorokin has that woe is me, sulky look after every goal. I'm definitely riding Varley until he can't go. Mental toughness speaks volume. Varley's a benchy. Sorry, Frank. Varley's a backup. You want to ride the backup? Feel free. Not me. He's a backup for a reason. He's a backup.
I'm fine with riding Varley the rest of the season. That's fine. Guess what? You know what we're going to notice when we ride Volley for a game stretch of, besides handpicking the Montreals and the miserable teams in the schedule? You know what we're going to start seeing, guys? We're going to see that, guess what? He's just at the same level. So, but we need to see better production out of Sorokin. We're going to be paying him $8 million. Yeah, I understand that, right? But guess what? When you're asking a guy to carry a full load compared to saying, hey, we want you to play 20 or 25 games a year, it's a lot easier to be the backup and to come in. It's like the everybody's favorite player is the backup QB or all the running backs, right? Your Tony Pollard, your off pace backs, right? To draw a football analogy, right? It's different when you're being asked to be the full-time running back compared to saying, hey, you're going to come in on third down and play against the gas defense. You're going to play on a drive once the defense is worn down. And hey, you pop a huge run for 50 yards and you look fantastic. Well, when you're asked to do all the heavy lifting on the front end, it's going to be tougher, right? You don't get sheltered, none of that stuff. He played think about this. Sorokin played 17 games in a row.
He ain't been the same since.
Nope, I don't think he has. Freedom Fund Adventure, Grumpy.
Sorokin's tired. We goalies get tired mentally, physically, and emotionally, especially when the team in front of you is so bad, putting out 100% energy all night versus 60% he needs to rest and recharge. I agree. Yep. I think that this season is over for him.
It's a write-off.
I mean, how many games has Varley won this year? What's his record? I mean, he always so great.
9-8-4.
8-8-4.
9-8-4.
Okay, 9-8-4. Not good enough to make the playoffs. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, he opened up the door. State of survival, Grumpy.
What happened to our dream team goalie whisperer management, Greco and Corn? Is Sorokin tuning them out? I think it's Patrick Waugh.
One of them is gone. I can't remember which one's gone. I think it's Corn is gone. I don't remember. He retired or he only wanted to work with Barry Trial, whatever it is. One of them's still here. One of them's gone. But
I think that it's when Patrick Waugh got there. They might not mix.
Guess what? Patrick Waugh, I love how, Jack Adams Award winner, Patrick Waugh. Have you ever actually looked at Patrick Waugh's coaching record?
Not that good. His first year was really good. Other than that,
it's not that good. He's not a really good season. Other than that, the play was just meh.
I'm going to tell you what, though. He's not the problem.
He's not the problem. That's right. But that's what I'm thinking. For all of the Lamanites who thought he was going to come in and magically fix everything, you were wrong, like we knew you would be. It's not just a coach or a better goalie or a better play from player A away from fixing our problems. The problems are more deep-seated than what you are anticipating. And it's just going to mean if you try to half-ass and fix the problem, right, and say, we're just going to slap over some stucco on this and that's going to fix everything, some stucco, it's not going to fix the deep underlying issues. And that's the worry I have.
Fresh coat of paint ain't going to do the job.
Yep. Freedom Fund Adventure.
Why can that sweet old man not have a chair, TJ? How was sweet baby Liza's first Easter? Grumpy, did TJ have you and X digging out his new pool with shovels since you arrived? No, but no, I'm not going to say that. But I'll tell you what, he heaps food on a plate. He gave enough food to eat for a week on our plate.
Hey, you don't go hungry. You don't go hungry at the household. New York Ranger Mike.
Islander fans, the reason why Sorokin's numbers are not stellar is because the Islanders are slow, old, and their defense is horrible. Sorokin is left alone with no defense. 100% agree. Hate to agree with the Ranger fan, but it's the truth.
Yep. Goon Grump.
Why does Grumpy feel more passionate about the New York Islanders? What does Grumpy feel more passionate about, the New York Islanders or the United States of America? I'm not touching that comment right now.
Oh, God. All righty. Good idea, Grumpy. New York Ranger Mike Grump.
If it was not for Sorokin, the Islanders would have 20 points less than they have right now. Absolutely. We'd be Columbus or maybe Montreal. I don't even think Montreal. We'd be below Montreal and maybe a little bit ahead of Columbus.
Could you imagine asking 35, 36-year-old goaltender Varlamov to play 50-plus games a season?
Yeah. How'd that work out?
That would be a good result. John Santamaria Grump.
Lee, Mayfield, Clutterbuck, Engvall, Palmieri, see ya. Okay. Lee has 3 more years left on his deal? 2, 3?
2.
Mayfield has 6. Clutterbuck is gone. Engvall 6. Palmieri 1.
7. Engvall's 7.
No, he's got 6 more.
Did he get an 8-year extension or 7?
He got a 7. So did Mayfield. They both got.
They're so high up there, hard for me to count.
Which is still 4 years too much for both of them. State of Survival says what the Rangers did when they started their rebuild. That's what we should do. Announce that there will be a rebuild and to give the team time to build a winner. Now look at them; they're in first. Yeah, they had some things go their way. They won a couple of draft lotteries, or whatever they did. But you know what? It's okay. to admit that your team isn't going to be good enough and we're going to be for rebuild. Nothing wrong with that. Didn't take him too long.
Dominic Rinaldi.
If a GM tells you you cannot have facial hair, do you think he gives the coach control over who plays? Yeah, that's legitimate. And do you think people want to go there if you're going to say, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that, you can't do this? If you can do that if you're the New York Yankees, who have a history of being winners under George Steinbrenner, or, if you got a guy whose team scuffles around, barely makes the playoffs, every once in a while, it's like, no, I'm not playing there. I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? Let's be honest. Players today are different than they were 15, 20 years ago. They're just different.
When I see that, I just kind of chuckle and laugh. It's just like to think about our old antiquated general manager saying, you're not allowed to have facial hair on this team. Yeah, buddy.
He's jealous. He's jealous because he can't grow any hair, period.
If I had the talent, right? You can't stick it where the sun don't shine. You have no right over what I'm going to do with my face and facial hair, buddy. I wish Matt Barzal would come out and say, hey, I'm growing a beard. If you don't like it, trade me.
So you wouldn't take Brent Burns on your team, right? You wouldn't take Burns on your team because he won't shave his beard. Or you wouldn't have taken Joel Thornton back in the day. Think about that. Just think about how stupid that is. It's just kind of dumb, isn't it? You should want the best players. It's like the Canadians only wanting to hire somebody if they can speak French Canadian. Maybe that's why they don't get the best candidate to be a head coach. You ever think about that? I'm not saying it's not advantage or you should know something, but Joel Quenneville, nope. Al Arbor, nope. Just name them all. Somebody from Russia, nope. Sorry, you don't speak French Canadian. It's just dumb.
Michael Bichet, Grump.
Hello, gentlemen. I'm happy this team is done. We need a major change, and it starts with Lou. Until Lamoriello goes, there will be no changes on this team.
Yep. I was about to say, I will not feel confident with the direction of the team until he finally steps away. NT says here, hold on, that's a Brian Berard jersey, Grumpy, isn't it?
I have one just like that.
You have that same exact jersey.
Same exact jersey.
NT says here, what do you guys think of Waugh's line combinations as of late? I think we talked about it earlier. I think it's just he's just trying to get any sort of reaction he can. He saw against Florida, we didn't really come out, even despite being on the power play for 12 minutes. Did we have any power play goals?
Yesterday?
No, against Florida, the Panthers. I don't
don't know.
Did we?
No, I don't know.
Our power play's been 2 for our last 29. I'm not sure what our power play looked like against Tampa, but yeah, I'm not sure here. Yeah, I got it, Grump. Yeah, I'm not sure what the power play looked like against Tampa, but we were 2 for our last 29 power play attempts. And I'm not sure if that's gotten worse, but again, right, power plays looked worse under Patrick Waugh as well than what it looked like earlier.
If the officials start calling penalties on us, we're going to get steamrolled.
Because our penalty kill is so abysmal. That's the reason why. But Status Rival says here, I think Waugh is doing the Cappy thing on purpose. He's not an idiot, and the Islanders PR team is definitely telling him what to say, not to say anything negative, or he's throwing Lou under the bus so he can get the GM job.
I don't care what he does. He should want the GM job. I want somebody who can be a legitimate GM in the year 2024, not somebody who was good in 1990.
Goon Grump.
Grumpy, since today is Easter, can you sing us a little bit of In Your Easter Bonnet, or Here Comes Peter Cottontail? Here comes Peter Cottontail, hopping down the bunny trail. It's not Giddy Up, Giddy Up. Easter's on its way. I don't think it's Giddy Up, Giddy Up. Easter's on its way.
Even Stan Fischler said here that Horvat should be captain. And Grumpy Tortorella is a good coach. He's a drill sergeant for 2 or 3 years, but you bench guys that you need in support of management, and Lou won't allow it. No AHL guys are ready.
Well, there's another reason why Lou needs to go.
Robert Marshall said, according to Stefan Rosner, don't be surprised if Cal Clutterbuck and Matt Martin are back.
I would be stunned if they came back. I would be absolutely stunned. You think it's bad around here now? Let's bring back a 35-year-old fourth liner and a 33-year-old fourth liner who barely even touches the ice.
Do you remember all offseason long we said right? What's better than what's better than failing once with the same team, rolling it back a second time and thinking that it's going to have a different result. And people kept telling us, no, this is not the same team, right?
Same
This is a
exact.
different team that we started off the season with, right? They just try to move the goalpost. Stefan Rosner said that. We had Phil's Facts. All of the pro Lamanites were saying, oh, this is a different team than we started the season with. It's the same exact team we
No.
ended the season with
No,
last
it is
year.
a different team.
6 games against Carolina on.
It is a different team. It's worse. It's worse. That's right.
Well,
It's worse than it was last year.
Sorokin didn't play at a god level this year is what it was.
How many points did we have last year? 93 points?
Yeah, maybe.
Are we getting 93 points for the end of this year? No. The answer is no. So the team is worse than last year.
Well, it's because our guys are older. That's
Worse.
yeah, we won 42 games last year under Lane Lambert.
They ain't winning that much this year. That ain't happening.
Think about that. 42 wins last year. At least we were an above average. Think about it. We won 42 games. We won more than half of the games we played last year. This year, even if we win every single game the remainder of the season, we can only get 40 wins on the season. Think about that. We win our last 9 games, go on a 9-game winning streak. We can only win 40 games. Okay, state of survival, Grump.
I want us to lose every single game from here on out. We need the best opportunity to get Calabrini as possible. We're not. You have to be like in the bottom 11, I think, to be able to have that.
To win the lottery, yeah.
Yeah. Dominic Rinaldi says, Grumpy, even when they're in second place, they were playing like shit. The start of the season was the same as last season, and the changes should have been made right away. Changes should have been made 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when I said they should have made changes. You know when they really should have made the changes? As soon as they came in, him and Trotz, blow it up and start over. Fan base would have bought it. Fan base would have bought into it. Then all of a sudden you get a couple of lucky seasons, COVID seasons, where you make the Eastern Conference Finals and predictably lose to the better team. And they didn't make any appreciable changes to try to be better than Tampa. They just brought the same guys back. You were never beating Tampa. Never freaking ever were you beating Tampa. Guess who else you're not beating? You're never beating Carolina, ever. Never freaking ever. Never beating the Rangers. Not happening. Never beating Florida. No chance. That's what you want to make the playoffs? Go ahead. Get embarrassed on the national stage. Have the people try to say nice things about the Islanders because, they're paid to do it by the league. That's the only shot. We're going to get swept. If we make the playoffs, we're getting swept by whoever we play, unless it's Boston.
Freedom Fun Adventure says, TJ, I agree. The Islanders are soft as a deflated balloon. New general manager must find enforcers and guys who chew nails over the summer. That'd be nice. And he also says here, if Martin and Clutterbuck return, there's no hope, says Freedom Fun Adventure. The Islanders need every available roster spot to improve, although Lou takes the easiest way out all the time, and resigning those two would be easy.
Freedom Fun Adventures, Grumpy, your grandfather now. Lou reminds me of a really old grandpa who's losing it and is trying to keep his family close to buy their love. That's the overpaying, not trading assets, and too much term. I might be making the same mistake.
John Santamaria, Grump.
Calabrini, Demidov, and Lidstrom are the top 7 list of draft picks that represent offensive investments. We need to grab one of these, understanding it's all a crapshoot. It's worth it. The worse we are, the better it is. We get a higher pick. Honestly, if there's a defenseman out there, I don't think there's the only position where we really don't need an upgrade is goaltender. Regardless of what the Lamanites tell you, is goaltender. Our defense is bad. Robert Bertuso is a guy who plays on a regular basis. Think about that. Robert Bertuso, a guy who was on the outs on a bad St. Louis team, is a guy who's a regular player for this team.
Matthew S. says here, I was never on the Flyer Lane train. Yep. Rich C says, let's move on. Talk about solving problems. Okay. The best way, right?
Get rid of the GM.
We get people who ask us this, oh, you guys just shit on a team. You never give solutions. Here is the very easy, quick and easy solution. We're not going to go into a very in-depth conversation, right? Because why talk about something that it seems so far-fetched at this moment? Why spend hours discussing it? But here's the way to do it. Fire Lou Lamoriello. We agree that definitely is a step in the right direction. Correct, Grump?
That's right. That's step one.
Get a general manager, right? Well, I guess step one would be hire an assistant general manager who could learn under Lou, but that's
He's
just
already got one. It's Patrick Waugh, the next GM. Patrick Waugh, the next GM.
okay. So get rid of Lou Lamoriello this offseason, and Patrick Waugh usurps Lou Lamoriello as the new general manager.
Give him the freedom to eat contracts if you have to get rid of guys.
That's correct.
We've been through this until Rick and Rich, until you move out Lou Lamoriello, it doesn't matter. He has proven that he will not make moves necessary to improve the team.
Yes. So that's why he has to be the first piece that moves. But how do you improve it right? Next year, Brock Nelson is on an expiring deal. I am not re-signing back Brock Nelson. I am trading Brock Nelson in the summertime, eating half of his cap, or maybe I'm trading at the long story short.
You don't need to eat cap on him.
Deadline. Was that?
You don't need to eat cap on Nelson.
I would make him more appealing, though. I would say I'm giving you a second line center and Brock Nelson at $3 million per. You can eat cap on 3 players, right? I'm no longer concerned about competing for a cup and being at the salary cap ceiling. I don't care where I am. We just are going to hit the floor. So I will eat a contract and I'll eat cap space in order to move guys. Guess what? Kyle Palmieri is also an expiring deal. I'm trading him this offseason. He's playing the best hockey we've seen with him under as an Islander. I'm eating half his cap hit and saying, here's Kyle Palmieri at $5 million per. You need to make these right. You could trade Kyle Palmieri at $5 million on 1 year left. You're going to get more to give him the team at $2.5 million per, though. I'm trying to maximize the assets we get back in and start the rebuild. That's the way to do this.
Yeah, I'm not willing to eat contract on Nelson. I'm absolutely because you can get things for Nelson without eating.
You can get more by eating it, though, right?
Anders Lee is the guy whose contract you eat money on.
Guess what? I don't care. Guess what? Anders Lee will be long gone by the time we become good again. So me giving up assets to get rid of Anders Lee does nothing for me. I don't care.
You don't have to give up assets. You eat half his money. Somebody will take him at $3 million per.
It's 3. It would be like 3.5.
Well, then fine. Make that work. That's 2 more years of that.
But I mean, the thing is this: you just plop him on the bottom line.
No, I don't want him on the team. You got to get rid of him. He's he's the leader of the cul-de-sac crew. He's the guy who's got to be gone. The first and foremost, get rid of him. Unload him.
We'll get rid of him too.
And then Pajot. You want to move Pajot? Move him. I could care less. Move him. You're going to have to eat money on Pajot. But you don't have to eat money on the guys who have 1 year left. You have to eat money on the guys who have more than 1 year left, and that's fine.
Robert Marshall.
I know freedom is senile, Lou. I know freedom. If senile Lou isn't sent packing, we're doomed. True.
State of Survival says here, did you hear that the Freudian slip when Shannon said Shannon Hickey? Something's going on. Oh God. I don't think the empty netters affect the plus minus. They do. PK and power plays do not. That is correct. But empty netters do because it's technically 6 guys on the ice against 6 guys on the ice.
Yes.
Including the goalie. So yes, the empty nets do count as a minus in the plus minus category for them. Rich C says here, blame Lee. He's no leader. Yep, absolutely. Rob Mora says here, should have played Varlamov 10 games ago. I have the same.
Doesn't matter.
Our team's not scoring. We're 23rd in goals for, 23rd in goals against.
We're a bad team.
Yep. Freedom Front Adventure says here, Engvall is the epitome of looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane.
He looks like Cheetah.
Alexander says here should be the line combinations: Barzal, Bo Horvat, and Kyle Palmieri, Anders Lee, Brock Nelson, and John Gabriel Pajot, and then Hudson Fasching, Casey Zizekas, Simon Holmstrom, and bottom line is going to be Matt Martin, McLean, and then and Cal Clutterbuck.
Does it make a difference? They've already had those line combinations. Oh, they've had some of those line combinations before. So you're going to play Pajot on a wing and put Nelson at center? I don't know.
Do you remember in years past, people were like, oh, well, winning faceoffs is so important and integral to our team's success. We need to be able to win faceoffs up and down the lineup. Our faceoff percentage is miserable this season. Have you heard anybody talking about how important that is? And maybe that's the reason why we're losing games? No, because guess what?
It's not Matt Barzal. Because it's not Matt Barzal. It's not the best player on the team winning faceoffs. I don't give a shit if he ever wins a faceoff. You know what he does? He is by far, if he ever went down, you think we're 23rd in scoring? We'd be San Jose bad.
Hey, we played well last year without Matt Barzal, so it can happen again, Grumpy.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
It is disgraceful to see people shit on. It's like because you see so much glory from that player that, oh, if he doesn't do that all the time, I'm going to get upset. You know what? Eventually just take and say thanks for being able to witness that on the ice. Rich C, Grumpy.
Can't keep switching lines and expect chemistry, kind of obvious. What does it matter? Everybody's played. They've been the same guys who've been here forever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They're not good enough. Players aren't good enough. We're not good enough because the players aren't good enough. That's just the way it is. Got to get better players.
Fun adventure, Grumpy.
TJ and Grump, pretend you were seated on a plane next to ownership for 2 hours. What would you tell them in a professional manner? Yes, the Islanders would tune any coach put out, I guess.
Any coach out. Look at how many guys they fired. How many
Yeah.
guys have gotten fired? What would you say?
My first question.
You're
Go
sitting
ahead.
next to Malcolm, not Ledecky. What would you say, Grumpy, in a professional setting for a 2-hour flight? What would you talk about, Grumpy? From New York to Charlotte, that's about a 2-hour flight. You're on a plane, plopped right in first class, right next to Malcolm. He's a little buddy right next to him. What do you say? What do you tell him, Malcolm, Grump?
Do you care if the team wins or not? That's my first question.
Same thing I would ask.
Because if you don't care, that's fine.
Save me the conversation.
Yeah. I don't even need to have a conversation with you.
That would be the first thing is like, for your ownership of the team. If he answers honestly, he's a businessman. He's not going to answer you honestly.
That's
and
fine.
if you said, do you care? He's going to say, oh yeah, we care. We love the Islanders. We love them.
Can you tell me what makes you, how do you sell a fan that you care when you keep a general manager 82 years old who has made no moves in the offseason ever since he's been in your employ? How do you think the fan should feel when he keeps on saying the same thing? We believe in this group. This group's never won anything ever. Ledecky, Malkin never won anything. We never won a division title, never won a conference title, never won a Stanley Cup. Squeak into the playoffs. We made the playoffs during COVID years. That was our best is COVID years. Why should I believe in this team?
Yeah, mine would be, we had a high, right? Where we went to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals, but now 2 of the last 3 years, we didn't make the postseason, right? Assuming we're not in a postseason spot now, unless there's some heroics and another teams continue to collapse. We don't make the postseason probably this year. How do you expect me to say I should believe in this team? I should continue to support this team with my time, my money, and my support just in general, right? Why should I believe in that when 2 of the last 3 years we haven't made the postseason? In the 1 year we did, we won 2 postseason games and got beat against the Carolina team that was decimated with injury, right? In the last 3 years, we've had 2 games. We've won 2 postseason games in the last 3 years. Why should I continue to support this team with my money, my time, and my effort? Why?
And the 2 postseason games we played a backup, and they were missing 3 of their top 6 forwards.
I feel like we've continued to hit the reset button. We got rid of Barry Trotz as a head coach. We got rid of Lane Lambert as a head coach. And now we have a new head coach under Patrick Waugh. And I've seen the same results over the last 3 years, which have been underwhelming at best. But we continue to reward the guy, the general manager, who makes these decisions by giving him extensions. Why are we continuing to give extensions to our general manager when we've seen lackluster and underperformance, right? We were a team that was Stanley Cup or bust. What happened to that? Why are we not Stanley Cup or bust? And if we are still Stanley Cup or bust, why do we still continue to reward the general manager who's not doing that? And we bust out every year.
How about this? How about this question? Do you feel stupid when you make idiotic comments in front of people like in Lou we trust? Because you should feel stupid when you say things.
Well, Malcolm doesn't say anything to anybody. It's goofy.
Malcolm wouldn't even be on the flight, first of all. He's got a private jet.
That's true. Ledecky may be flying with us in first class.
There you go.
But he'd be saying, hey, Lou Lamoriello's won 4 cups with the Devils. Oh, hold on. I mean 3. Yeah.
You own a hockey team. What's it feel like that and you own all these hockey players? What's it feel like that your niece is the most decorated athlete that you've ever managed?
Oof. Michael Boucher, Grumpy.
I thought Nielsen,
Mayfield, and Lee should have been gone after last season. Should have been gone last season.
Nelson.
Yeah, Nelson, see you later. Same thing. Mayfield, and so should have Parise. Parise should have been moved. That's simple, but we didn't do that because
But here's the thing: when you keep on giving guys no trade clauses, well, what the hell? I make it so miserable. They beg to be traded. Everybody, you know what? We're going to have the best Bridgeport team ever. All the guys we signed to long-term deals, you're going to play on Bridgeport for the next 7 years.
Nice comment here, Grumpy. Nick
Happy
Easton. Happy Easter. I don't
Buona
know.
Pasqua. How are you guys doing today? Very good, Nick.
Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Tin J, Grumpy.
I think Roy is doing it on purpose to show if you split up Barzell and Horvat, you go from 2/3 top line to 0, first, second, and third lines. Defense sucks. I don't think that's the reason he's doing it. He's trying. He puts Matt Barzell. He's put him with Fashing, who I think works well with him, honestly, because he's not afraid to skate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Grumpy. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think it works well. The same thing why Cizikas works well with Matt Barzal, because they're high energy, high motor guys, and they don't stand around, and allows Matt Barzal to have open spots to pass the puck to, which create opportunities.
Yep.
Got too many guys who stand around. Nick D says here, I think the owners are going to force Lou into retirement to maintain his historic career. I see Waugh becoming the general manager. What do you guys think? I think that may be wishful thinking. I have not seen any reason to believe just quite yet that they're going to force Lou Lamoriello out.
He should be gone. I said as soon as they signed Waugh as a coach, I said he was going to be the next GM. I stand by that.
If you keep Lou Lamoriello as your general manager, if you don't make the postseason this year, that tells you all you need to know about this ownership groups, how serious they are about winning. If you go 2 of 3 years not making the postseason,
three head coaching changes, 3 coaching changes in 3 years,
and you keep the general manager intact, that tells you all you need to know about this ownership's group's devotion to winning. If they do keep the same thing status quo, they don't give a shit about winning. All they want to do is try to maximize how many fannies are in the seats in order to say, gotcha, we plan on selling this club and selling this organization and franchise after we develop the shopping complex there. That's what they want to do, and sell it all as one big lump.
Michael Boucher says, unfortunately, we have no prospects down the line. True.
Max
says, Nelson, Lee, Palmieri, Clutch, they are history. No adoption if the future. Don't know anymore if he is worse every game. Too many stupid, costly mistakes. Poor grammar aside, Max. No adoption's not been great down the stretch. Neither is Sorokin, 2 guys that I trumpet. The other guys haven't been good, period.
Yeah.
I mean, they all should be dumped. No adoption at least has a future. Rob Morris says, look, the Islanders played like crap yesterday, as they have most of the year. Varlamov has played way better than Sorokin. They need more weapons. Barzell always too fancy with the puck. Horvat, Lee, Mayfield needs to go. Just go back to what I stated. If Waugh played Varlamov 10 games ago, maybe it wouldn't be different. It wouldn't be different. Varlamov is nowhere near as good as Sorokin. Sorry, he's just not.
Yeah, no shot in hell. Alexander Diaz says here, late round first rounders are usually not first line wingers. Yeah, but they're usually guys who are top 6 players or have the chance.
Wallstrom was number 11. The piece of shit Holmstrom was number 19. I mean, hey, Kucherov was what? Third liner, third round pick. Braden Point, third round pick.
Top 6. McMichael's a top 6 guy for them. Yeah, Tomasino, look at this, 70 points. And I know he's down in the AHL for them, but 70 points in 148 games at the age of 22 years old. He has offensive talent. Same thing with McMichael, offensive talent, playing top 6 role right now for Washington, and he's putting up points in droves.
We drafted some injured up scrub from Sweden who was projected to go in the second round maybe, and they picked him in the first round.
Niels Hoglander, right? There's a lot of guys you can identify. It's not every single selection, but you can find guys like that.
Our scouting staff needs to change as well.
I don't disagree with that. It's just like you start looking at drafts, you absolutely can identify. I'm just going year by year. 2018, let's take a look. Like you look at it year by year.
Is that an off-season thing?
Okay,
we're almost 2 hours in. Let's.
Okay, yeah, okay. Matthew asked Grumpy.
Barzell has had the best season he's ever had. The team would still be in the same situation no matter who's in goal. Our defense sucks. It's true.
Nick T.
Worst case is a repeat of 94. That's right. We got swept by the Rangers with Hextall in net, and they want to win the cup. Alexander says, Grumpy, TJ, the Rangers are not going anywhere, and the Rangers have had a cupcake schedule. They all play the same schedule.
They're 72 games, 73 games into the season.
And they got the best record in the league. So
that's correct.
It's not like they're playing Anaheim and Chicago every night. Freedom Front Adventure says, TJ, have you ever heard the one about Jackass and Tiger get into an argument on color and the sky and the Tiger's right, but the Lion King punishes Tiger because he argued with Jackass. You are Tiger in the story, wasting time. You lost me on that one, Freeman.
No, yeah, I understand. Yes, they make him mute because you argued with a jackass. Yeah, and they were fighting. Yeah, I've heard the analogy before. Yeah, I do. I hope I can change the jackass, but maybe I just shouldn't waste time with the Lamanites. But I think there's hope. Alexander.
Next season, Ron needs to be given a clean slate. He's not going anywhere.
I
He's
hate
not going
this
anywhere.
mentality, though. Oh, well, it's just because he adopted the team. You know, he joined the team halfway through. He just needs a clean slate to start over, and things are going to be better for him.
Okay.
I don't believe
Did Craig Berube need a clean slate, or did he just win a Stanley Cup when he came to St. Louis? Because that's the big one we always hear, right? St. Louis, worst team in the league in January, and they won a Stanley Cup. Well, did he need a clean slate? No. Sorry.
Weather and aviation, Grump.
No effing way we're getting in. Someone spike Lamarillo's mimosa with X-Lax.
Oh, gosh. Big Isles fan, Grump.
I don't think Waz clueless. I believe Grumpy. He is the next GM. He is evaluating these players, and he's finding out what we all know. Dobson, Barzell, Horvat, and Sorokin, and the rest are all crap. That's what I said from day one. From the day he was hired, I said that. Alex says, guys, here's the deal. Sorokin hasn't played up to his Vezina self, but I still believe he is elite. That's fair.
Yep, I agree with that. Yep, they ruined Wally, says Michael Bichet.
I agree with that.
Matthew S. says here, Stamkos pretty much got Pellick chasing him.
Think about that. Stamkos isn't anywhere near the player he used to be.
Yes.
And he doesn't skate anywhere near as well as he used to be. And Pellick, yeah.
Just to give a little update, Steven Stamkos has got 66 points there in 70 games, ahead of Brock Nelson. Looky there. George Pace, Grumpy.
And Stamkos would get a full no trade clause. Here's the thing. I would never sign him.
Richie says, where is ownership?
Probably on a yacht somewhere.
Filippo was a good signing, says Isles.
God, he's 34 years old, bottom six guy. Stop. Full stop on that. This team, it's not the bottom six that's the issue. It's the top six. Always been the top six.
Right. What Lou did that a few good times is by signing guys who were completely finished so they would have a good year with us. And then that was it. Right. Like he did a good job. Hey, Zach Parise was a good pickup. There were a few good pickups, but retreads. He was really good at finding retreads. Like the team needs more than retread tires. You know, what's the one thing you notice about retread tires? The likelihood that they blow and pop a tire on the interstate when it gets too hot and they're driving on an 18-wheeler is high as it starts to get hot outside in the heat of the season.
Very high.
Yep. Mario Vargas.
The obsession this organization had was complete players is sickening. Yeah. You know what? Just give me some high talent guys occasionally. What do you think?
Alexander Grumpy.
Ishikov needs more time. They do like Ishikov. What's he got to be, 30?
Oh, shit.
I mean, do you really think Simon Holmstrom deserves a spot on this team?
He's 23 years old. Like, what else do you think he's going to develop down there? He's not. You look at the stats, right? He is, right? Okay, look at this. 69 games last year, 51 points. 63 games this year, 45 points. Guess what? 17 goals and about 20 to 30 assists a year. That's what he is in the A. And guess what? It's the same exact production pretty much in from last year than it is to this year. I'm not expecting any significant steps forward in his game as a developing prospect. Simple as that. Mario Vargas, Grump.
Had Bossy been drafted by the current management, he would have never made the NHL. He never would have been drafted by the Islanders because they wouldn't have had a first-round pick. Alexander says, guys, Sorokin has led in a lot of weak ones in net. I disagree. Don't listen to that fuckhead lead Lamanite because he's wrong. He's just wrong. He's flat out wrong. He has an agenda, and that's what he says. Don't listen to those people. You're making a mistake.
You know what you're doing is you're making the same mistake, just like when the lead Lamanite told you that Julien Gauthier was a diamond.
Oh, yeah, he was great.
Just like the lead Lamanite told you.
And what did I tell? What did I tell lead Lamanite? He got cut by the Rangers, cut by Ottawa. What makes you think he's going to be any difference here?
He was waived by us too.
There's no difference. There's no difference with any of these guys. They're all the same.
Like the lead Lamanite telling you Pierre Engvall was a buzzsaw on that second line, the best second line in hockey, that Pierre Engvall was a talented player. That's all the upside with this contract. We gave him a 7-year contract to Pierre Engvall. Hey, Simon Holmstrom is a top sixer, just like other Lamanites were saying. Hey, he'll be William Karlsson 2.0. Yeah.
And what did I tell you? What did I tell you about Pierre Engvall? What did I say? He's a bottom six guy.
Yeah.
He's a bottom six guy. What did I tell you about Simon Holmstrom? He blows. Kyle McLean was better than him. I told you that. Guess what? Kyle McLean's better than Simon Holmstrom.
It's the same Lamanites who all year long, and even the first game in the first months of the season, were shitting on Noah Dobson, our best defenseman, and it's not even close for second. And as soon as this happens, they start trying to find more ways they could try to shit on him because they're pushing an agenda. It's the same way they always shit on Sorokin. Oh, mid-Rokin, he needs to play better. He didn't play good enough in the playoffs last year, despite being Reggie Leak in the regular season. It's just like you listen. Kelly Leak. I'm sorry. You listen to those Lamanites, and all it's going to lead you is
More losers,
incorrect assumptions, and it's going to lead you to despair. Do not listen to the Lamanites.
Get off the loser train. Get off the loser train, Alex. Get off the loser train. They're losers. They're all wrong. They're wrong. The only thing about them that they're right about, they're 1,000% wrong every single time.
Whatever they're saying, just pick the inverse.
It's just, I do a George Costanza. Whatever they say, do the opposite.
Freedom Fund Adventure.
Fun fact, if the Islanders did not have Sorokin, they'd be picking number 1 in the draft this year and would have picked number 1 last year too. Absolutely.
Definitely last year. I'm not sure about this year, but pretty close to it. State of survival.
Off topic, do you think last year's Devils are this year's Canucks? Last year's Devils or this year's Canucks? No, I think the Canucks are a little bit better. Could they lose in the first round? Yeah, because I think that the West is really tough.
Devils won the first round, lost in the second round. Remember, they beat, I think it was the Rangers.
That's right. They beat the Rangers, then they got swept by Carolina.
Yep. Freedom Fund Adventure.
Grumpy, you bastard. I'm turning in my Team Grumpy card. I was a fantastic goalie. Yes, I know. No, come on. I apologize right away. But it was too easy for me to say that. It was just too easy. That's how you know I like you. I'm picking on you.
Who is the lead Lamanite? He's a friend of the show.
Facts. That's who it is. And we love Phil.
He's a friend of the show. He's a guest on this show too.
Phil's a great guy. He's a great guy, but he's wrong. And another good thing about the Islanders not making the playoffs, it gets him off of Twitter, and it helps people like Alexander. Helps them.
See you later, Lou. See you later, Phil's facts.
We talked to him the other day. We say, hey, you counting down the days till you won't be on Twitter?
Hey, I asked Phil, I said, what do you think? He said, we're still making the postseason. So what do you think the chances are? He said, 65% chance we make the postseason this year is what he's told me today.
Really? He said if we lose to Tampa and Philadelphia, it's 0. So it goes from 65 to 0 in 2 games? Okay. I knew we weren't beating Tampa.
All right, here you go. Rob Mora Grump.
Well, what did Sorokin do the last 15 games? If Varlamov fans smoking crack, then Sorokin fans are in ecstasy. But Wah should be playing Varlamov the first 3 games he lost in a row. He's a backup, dude. I don't know what to tell you. You want to ride a 36-year-old backup? Okay. How did he look yesterday? It's a great game, 4 goals. 3 goals, empty netter. Doesn't matter. Because Sorokin gets ripped all the time and gives up 3 goals.
He's expected goals before they pulled the goal. They were only 2.7 something percent.
So that was worse,
goals. So he gave up more goals than he was expected. What a shitty performance by Varlamov.
I'll just put it to you this way. Varlamov's not the answer.
That's correct.
Not the answer.
Exactly.
We can talk about that all off season. Because our off season starts in like a couple of weeks.
Good signing or trades by Lou Lamoriello, Valtteri Filppula, Kyle Paul. Wow,
that's an F fucking double minus. No way.
Robin Leonard. Yes. Varlamov and Andy Green.
Well, Varlamov was a free agent. Okay. Varlamov. What did they ever win with Varlamov?
Andy Green. They give up a 2nd round pick for a guy who was.
Anytime you're giving up draft picks for a guy who's 40 years old, that's a mistake. Anytime that you give up anything for Kyle Palmieri, that's an F double minus.
I think we're really grasping at straws saying that Andy Green was a good trade for a 2nd round pick for a guy who played a bottom pairing defenseman for us for like 2 or 3 years. I think that's stretching. Robin Leonard was a good signing.
1 year.
One year. Valtteri Filppula, 1 year.
1 year.
Varlamov. Sure, I'll give you Varlamov originally. I'll say the Varlamov contract now is a waste because guess what? If he determines to hang up the skates and say, I'm retiring, I don't want to play hockey anymore, right? Something's happened. I had a health scare. I don't want to play. His cap hit still counts against our cap because you gave him that contract when he was 35 years or older. Doesn't matter if he retires or goes on LTIR. It still counts if he retires. Simple as that. Kyle Palmieri, give him a 1st and a 4th for him. This is his first time ever putting up
scoring more than 33 points in a season.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that a 1st and a 4th. I don't care about the injuries. Guess what? Injuries affect how things went. You look at the bad moves, right? I'll give the signing. You forgot Sorokin. I give Sorokin absolutely an A++, and I give bringing in Barry Trotz. Those are the two best things that Lou Lamoriello has ever done. Trading away Devon Tays for 2 second-round picks.
That's the worst deal ever.
Trading away Nick Leddy, who Detroit proceeded to trade away for more value at the deadline. I don't know. I think that was a mismanagement, perhaps a little bit. I don't know. Giving up, what was it, a first and a third for Jean-Gabriel Pageau?
First and a second.
A first and a second for Jean-Gabriel Pageau.
Third line center.
I don't think that's great. I think the contract extensions we gave to the Pellick and Pulak, when you look at them, good. The contract extension that to Scott Mayfield was not a good, right? Like, you look at the bad, the longer he's here, and this last year, it's like he missed on everything he did. The Pierre Engvall contract extension, that was an F, right? There's a lot more Fs I'm noticing as of recent than there are As. And maybe it's because our GM is 82, 83 years old and is only fixated on trying to win now. But there's a lot more bad than there are good. I think there's some good, but the bad far outweighs the good. And I'm sorry, I don't give the Kyle Palmieri trade an A. I think maybe that's best case scenario. It's a wash. You give him a first.
Best case scenario, it's an F. It's an F. That's best case scenario is an F minus. That's best case scenario. You trade a first round pick for a guy who just sucks. I'm sorry. The one guy I didn't want, the one guy I absolutely did not want at that deadline was Kyle Palmieri. You want to know why? Because he blows. He was a guy who was an average player on shitty teams. Guess what? He comes to the Islanders. He's a shitty player on a shitty team.
Freedom Fund Adventure. TJ, Korn and Greco are still both of the Islanders. Okay, gotcha. Alexander Grumpy.
I can't believe anybody defends Lou Lamoriello at this stage. I just can't. I can't grasp it. Is that Fredo's freaking ghost account? That's
no. Alexander usually agrees with us on a lot of things, Grumpy.
Well, he better start getting on the stick. Alexander says, but here's the thing that people forget, that Sorokin's played better since Watt took over. No, he didn't. No, he hasn't. And the defense was worse last year. No, you're wrong, Alexander. You can't be more wrong. Matter of fact, you're hanging around Phil too much, because I'm going to tell you what, you're getting to be wrong on everything you say. What are you going to tell me next? Tua is a great quarterback? Is that the next thing you're going to tell me?
Meatball Parm.
And we love you, Alexander. You know we do. Meatball Parm says, the problem I have is that Sorokin was labeled the white whale. Well, that's TJ, by the media and the fans, and he hasn't lived up to the hype. I disagree. He was great last year. Please. And here's the thing. He was spectacular early this year. Then he got a rubber poisoning from absorbing all those shots. And now, and he hasn't been the same. He absolutely has not been the same since Wah got there. Maybe they don't mesh. I don't know. But he's not been the same since Wah got here. I will agree with that.
A white whale. Okay. You know what? Time to end this nonsense.
You said that. You said that all the time.
Time to end it. Time to end the nonsense about him not playing well or not living up to expectations. Let's pull this up here for a second. Sorokin's career save percentage, 919. 919. Is that good or bad? I forget.
Good. I think it's good. Really
That's
good.
Correct. A save percentage of a 254. Not bad at all. And look at
That's
this.
goals against.
I'm sorry. Goals against of 254. You look at it. It's all because this year's a 308. Simple as that. 18 shutouts in 4 years. Not bad. Not bad at all. Oh, look at this. Goals saved above expected. Whoa! You would be led to believe that he's well underneath that per the Lamanites. Huh.
I don't even pay. Those are nonsense stats, by the way. Nonsense.
Here's the rubber poisoning you're talking about. Most shots against and most saves in the NHL.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, shit.
Think about this. A 919 save percentage. That's better than any goalie. I mean, I'm just interested. Career numbers.
Okay. Well, I just want to say one thing. Look at the games, particularly early in the year. The only reason we won, we were playing teams that their goaltending was deplorable.
Yes, letting in goals like glove side right in the wrist, like missing an easy catch.
And you get spoiled.
Right body.
You get spoiled by how good he's been. He's not been good down the stretch this year. He absolutely has not been. He got worn out. Lane played him relentlessly at the end because he knew guess what? He knew Varlamov wasn't the answer. You know who else knows Varlamov isn't the answer? Patrick Roy. He knows it too. He knows it too.
I don't know. Maybe he hates Sorokin.
Yeah, because he's better than Patrick Roy ever was, probably.
Ow! No, joking aside, 919 save percentage. That's not good, apparently, for a career. right? We're not
Mhm.
talking about a 1-year sample size or a stretch of 50 games, or we're almost talking about 200 games in his NHL career. A 919 save percentage is not good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's obvious. Obvious. Anyway, okay. Robert Marshall said here, I think Sorokin has played worse under St. Patrick. I agree.
Yep. Agree.
George Pace says here, the Islanders lost the game song, or lost game song should be Grinch. Stink.
Stink.
Stank.
Stunk.
Stunk.
Stunk. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Doo-doo-doo.
Says here, Grumpy, tell us how much you and the warden are enjoying baby Liza and give us some ammo to make fun of TJ.
We are ecstatic seeing baby Liza for certain. She's a wonderful baby. And TJ sweats because he wants to do good so bad that if the baby cries, he takes it as a personal affront.
No, not necessarily that, but I do sweat. She's like a bowl of magma. Alexander says here, and Gauthier was cut because he couldn't play defense.
Guess what? He can't play offense either. He is what he is, dude. He was cut by 2 other teams because he sucks.
It's like Mike Riley.
But here's the thing. That's right. Mike Riley's another one. They're the same. They're all the same. They all suck. And here's the thing. The lead Lamanite was telling us how great Gauthier was. He could probably be a first-line player.
What a fantastic offseason by Lou Lamoriello, because we did nothing. Well, actually, re-signing back guys like Pierre Engvall, that was a huge get. And
That was a fail. Epic fail.
Signing Jolien Gauthier is huge. They just don't understand. He's never been given the adequate opportunity. And so now he's playing on the Islanders. He'll receive that, and we're fantastic.
I say it all the time. If you want the truth, listen to us. If you want to live in fantasy land or, ride the Disney carousel, listen to guys like Phil.
Alexander said the NHL Insider put out an article about prospects that are NHL ready. The Islanders have no one.
No kidding. It's because we suck. The old man has run the farm system in the ground.
Alexander said the extensions to Pulak and Pelech were steals at the time.
No,
yes,
they weren't. No, they weren't.
They were
No,
good.
they weren't.
They were a good draft.
No, they weren't.
They were a good
They
sign.
absolutely were not, because they've underperformed ever since they signed them. You know what? They got cul-de-sac comfort. That's what they got. The cul-de-sac comfortability went up for them. That all of a sudden now they're made men. Matter of fact, the second playoff, the best they ever played was the first playoff run when we lost to Tampa Bay in 6. After that, it's been downhill since. And how are those contracts going to age? They only got 6 and 7 years left on those deals. Boy, that's going to be good.
Rich Kalane says, "What are your feelings for Romanoff from first? Another awful trade by Lou Lamoriello. Holy shit!
Why?
Here's a guy who was selected at our pick, Rucker McGrody. Oh, last year is a point a game guy at Michigan. This year, 52 points in 32 games with a plus 18. Well, again, does he pan out? We have no idea. But you know what? Those are not bad numbers. I'll tell you that much for Rucker McGrody.
All I know is people were telling us, Lamanites were telling us, well, he was the best defenseman. I didn't even know who he was. Okay. And if you listen to that podcast, I didn't even know who he was. And the Lamanites were saying, well, you know what? He's the best defenseman on Montreal. You see how bad Montreal's defense is? I mean, that's talk about an indictment. That's what it is. He doesn't play any positional hockey ever. I don't care that he runs guys along the boards and gives up, a goal because he's too busy trying to hit somebody in the corner. Or he tries to lay down and block a shot. He misses, and it leads to a wide open chance that Noah Dobson has to cover up for him. He sucks.
Look at this. I'm sorry. We had the 13th overall pick. Frank Nazar is over a point a game guy in college. Look at this. Okay. Jonathan Ledermack. You remember talking about him? 31 points in the Swedish Elite League in 46 games at the age of 19 years old.
That's
What's a point a game guy in the Swedish Elite League?
Connor Geeky. He's been pretty good, hasn't he?
Here's another guy in the Swedish Elite League. 23 points in 38 games in the Swedish Elite League. Noah Oslin. It's just like you start looking, you're like, Joachim Kemmel. I remember Joachim Kemmel. That's a guy we're looking at. Oh, look at this. Wow. 58 games, 37 points in the AHL there at 19 years old.
How come the Swedish guys we bring in, they can't score?
Do you remember really quick? Yeah, good question.
Because they certainly don't play. Believe me, these guys, I guarantee those guys aren't physical either. If you're not picking a Swede guy who can score, you're picking the wrong guy.
Do you remember Ivan Miroshnichenko, the guy who was remember Nicole was talking about the offseason we brought her in? He was like, he's falling off. They're having questions about his compete level. He had Hodgkin's lymphoma. He had cancer. Well, don't worry. He's already up playing in the NHL for the Washington Capitals at the age of 20 years old. He's got 6 points in 17 games.
It looks like it's better than Simon Holmstrom's production.
Absolutely, especially at the age of 20 years old. It's just like you start looking. Do you remember we were even like, why don't you trade in to get a guy like Brad Lambert at the end of the first round? Wow. In the AHL, he's played 56 games and has 49 points in his first full season in the AHL.
I mean,
Guess
what can I tell you?
Brad Lambert's 20 years old. Wow, look at that. He's almost a point a game guy already in the AHL.
Did Casper Holmstrom even have 49 points in the 7 years that he was in the AHL combined? I don't think so.
I'll tell you. I'll let you know, Grumpy.
He never had 49 points in the season.
Oh, of course not. We'll look that up, though. I'm interested how Simon the Man Holmstrom played. Our 23rd overall selection. Let's see. He did have 43 points one year. That was the high watermark.
So not 49. Okay.
That's correct. Yeah, look at that. That was the highest peak he'd ever been at.
He's got 22 points. He had 5 shorthanded goals in 1 month. He's been the definition of below average.
And he's a spot where he's being healthy scratch left and right at this point.
Yeah. When you're getting healthy scratch, guess what that means? You're not good enough.
That's correct. Anyway, let's wrap this thing up here, guys.
Alex had one more comment. He just said that Pulock and Pelech would have gotten more on the open market. So let him go. Let him go. Let somebody else make the mistake of overpaying guys who are defensive defensemen. And then Alex says, Romanov's been our best D-man. Alexander, you are come on.
That's the Laminite talking point. Hold on. Wait, him.
One, I go to the Epicurean Hotel in Tampa on Friday because my daughter will be interning there. Good for her. I walk in, and much to my surprise, I see Lou sitting and talking with Claude Lemieux. 2, is Claude Lemieux part of the Islanders in some capacity? No, he's not. It's just somebody that he knew from the olden days, back when the Devils were good in the 1990s.
Alexander says here, TJ, you're going to be a great dad, brother. Congratulations. Thank you, Alexander. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Alexander, I know I've been picking on you today, but come on. We know we love you.
Quarterback. Oh, Tua Tagovailoa.
He's just trying to provoke me, but we will be on tonight. I'm certain of that to address comments like that.
Oh, man. Well, let's wrap things up. Thanks so much, Grumpy. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be live with you guys next Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks so much, Grumpy, for being a part of the show as always. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
And I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, even those who don't, and everyone have a happy Easter.
Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye.